Alrighty, folks. With me on the Zoom here, I got Dusty Russ. What's up, buddy? How are you doing?
Good, Aaron. How are you doing, man?
Oh, not too bad. So, man, we just talked for like an hour almost.
Yeah.
I feel like we probably got some good shit that these people aren't gonna hear. But
Yeah, probably a good
anyways,
thing.
the four people that'll listen to me. Hope maybe you'll draw a few extra into. Hopefully, bring my Facebook likes up or some. Um, so you've been pretty busy lately, man. The one thing I wanted to get you on here for a minute because I know you got a new album coming out here pretty soon, and then you just dropped the single New Year's. Did you drop it yesterday or New Year's Eve?
It was. I'm still confused that it was supposed to drop right at midnight on New Year's, and like when you go to the, I guess it's called agitator or aggregator or whatever, the digital distributor, we'll call them that. They give you like an option where they're like, it's, in every section of the world it comes out at midnight or whatever, or it could be your date, your time at midnight, and then it's available everywhere, whatever. But I don't remember what. I mean, we recorded it and I got it all done like months ago. For the first time in my life, I was actually prepared for something. and like it kind of came out like, and I was like, holy shit, it's out. It was like, because it was like 10 o'clock before midnight on my phone, and it was out. It was on Spotify and Apple Music, and I was like, oh shit. So yeah, so I guess it was New Year's, like right because I just, for some odd reason, I just didn't want it to come out in the year 2021. I was thinking like, like if it comes out then, that's my first new music in 3 years. And I thought it was kind of fun to, say, well, yeah, technically now it's been 4 years since I've actually put out new music. So I don't know, just some weird thing that I thought would be kind of fun to do, but
Well, the recording process for that was pretty cool too. From you were talking to me a bit while you were doing it, and that's really cool because, like, we're both, kind of from the same area. Where'd you grow up at? I know.
I was born in Lewiston, Idaho, and lived out there for first little part of my life, and then we moved to the west side over there, and then I kind of grew up, went to high school out in like Battleground area and all that stuff. So, and then just kind of out in Yakult, if anybody's familiar with that neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Somebody watch this and be like, holy shit, I'm in Yakult right now. So
yeah, I think Lewiston is in that area is probably where, like it's a lot like here, up in the Morrill County, Umatilla County area. So I feel like people that are born in that certain kind of area are like bonded by like just the special kind of breed of people it brings out, and
sure, yeah.
And it's kind of like desert people somewhat, and but one thing that people used to talk about a lot when I was younger, and I remembered them talking about, is down by John Day, that mystery cabin that John Fogerty used to have, and a lot of people didn't know where it was at or know anything, and all of a sudden you hit me up telling me you're recording out of there, and I was like, holy shit. Like I wasn't even sure that place existed. I knew he spent some time out here, but I wasn't sure like how much or whatever. But how did that all come about, man? That was kind of a cool deal. You sent me some pictures and everything.
Yeah, dude, I was wanting to do it for a while. I mean, obviously just, one of my biggest musical influences growing up was like Creedence Clearwater. It's like my dad had that cassette tape of Creedence Live, and then I think I used to put up my GI Joes when I was like 7 or 8 years old, and like put little guitars in their hands and pretend that they were like I was watching the show, like
that's my mom. My mom, for like my Christmas, my first grade year, got me a tape player, and she got me the CCR Revival tape. And years later, I asked her, I'm like, why'd you pick that one? She's like, because we were broke. I could only afford one tape, and I knew it had to be something I could fucking listen to over and over and over again. She's like, so I got CCR because I knew I wouldn't get fucking tired of it, because I knew you were going to play that thing nonstop.
Yeah. No, it was just, it was just kind of a weird, like, it just worked out really well for me, like for a dream come true, because I'd heard about this place too. Everybody talked about how I had this house, and I was like, well, shit, like I wonder what's up with this house, so I looked it up, and it turns out it's an Airbnb, and I was like, no shit, you can rent it, but it was kind of steep, it's not like and the longer you rent it, the more expensive it gets.
Really? So
like,
it's not like the other way around, like it should be.
no, it goes the opposite way, and it's kind of fucked up. I mean,
Do you mind if I ask you how much it ran you? Because fuck, I might want to go out there and just hang out.
It'll start you about 300 a night.
Fuck, dude. They must know what they got, man, and they must have a lot of people hitting them up to stay there.
It looks, you can book it pretty regularly. There's certain times a year. I think it's like peak fishing season and hunting season. It's hard to get. Like there's definitely a couple times out of the year, but
those guys probably don't even know what they're staying in. If they probably
I think it's if I read and talked to some of the locals correctly, I think it's two brothers that own it, and I think they both directly bought it from John Fogerty in the mid 90s, because he built it. Like it was actually him and his roadies and his band for his solo act built it, and like they started in like 1972. Like when he left Creedence Clearwater, he was like done, and he was actually fighting their record label at the time, and he was
I remember.
And his band, it was weird, like his band was siding with the record label, and he was trying to like
still tour without him under the name. The whole Creedence legacy is just weird.
Yeah, well, it's funny too, like when you look at his side of the story, I mean, like I said, there's not a lot of well published on the band side of the story, but when you look at his side of the story, it makes a lot of sense. You're like, and you're almost like, feel bad for the band guys, like what the hell were they doing, because they were taking like the record label side, like who does that, and they wanted more creative control and all that. And then I think it was their last record, he like was like, fine, you guys want to help write songs, they did, and it I think it was like their least successful record. I don't know how it did or whatever, numbers wise, but
and then didn't his label sued him for sounding too much like him, didn't they?
Yeah, they actually, like, he had to go to court because they were like, he's plagiarizing himself. And it got thrown out, so like, well, you can't plagiarize yourself, so it was all kind of comical, and I think that was part of I think it had something to do with the ex-manager, maybe, that they were kind of fighting all along, and it was kind of a really sad story. I mean, the more I read about it, because you just kind of like dived into the history a lot more when it was like just this whole other deal I didn't know about. And his brother Tom Fogerty wound up passing away of AIDS, and
oh really?
It was really sad because up until the point, like he passed away, like Tom was always on the side of the band and was always kind of against John Fogerty, and was always like backing up this manager guy, and the manager wound up kind of fucking everybody over. And then it was really sad because like the manager was always telling this Tom Fogerty that he had his back, and then when it come time for everybody to show up to Tom's funeral, John Fogerty was there, but the manager was not there, so which is man that's just fucked up, but crazy history there. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
John Fogerty, man, is one of the fucking greats, dude.
But
that story's a little interesting. I've heard a little bit from the band side, and he does seem like he could be kind of a prick, but I guess when you're that good, I mean, and maybe he was just being honest too, it's like maybe they were showing him shit the whole time, and he's just like, that's not really that good. That's not really that good, and of course it's going to piss somebody off,
Sure. Yeah.
But
like, what do you mean? What do you mean it's not good? Well, it's not written by John Fogerty. I mean, makes sense.
I loved about him is I think I saw this on a Netflix documentary too, and I didn't really click for a long time. Is like they were coming up in like an era where hippies were really like the thing, it's like the whole flower child generation. They really kind of fought against that whole thing, and still managed to be relevant and still rock and kick ass, and but they really weren't like, we're not. They kind of make fun of like the dope smokers and the flower children, and I think that's what made them so fucking gritty. I mean, Hendrix had both of that, and had that grit and the flower child thing going for them. But they were just, I think that's what set them apart, is they didn't buy into that shit. They were country boys fucking playing rock and roll,
Yeah, and their own styles, it's just phenomenal. Like you listen to like, when you really like listen to it, it's amazing the amount of country and rockabilly and all the different like influences.
There's some Cajun shit in there too.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and like they just straight up fucking kick ass records. I mean, and that whole experience was just like it's crazy. It was just like, my love for CCR, the availability of this cabin. And then I was just like at this point where I was like, well, like, my wife was pregnant, and she's just like, yeah, go ahead and do it. It's gonna be really hard.
You now, huh?
Yeah. So I was like, well, you know what, you're right. We probably gotta get this done. And so we ran it out for like 5 or 6 nights. And my drummer, this is the first record I've actually done with a full band too, which was great, like, so we were able to like get a lot of chemistry, from playing live together that you don't get, and so it was kind of cool. Like I brought back my good friend Lizzie Flick. She's a badass piano player. She's we've been buddies for 15 years or so, better. So I mean, but her and Chelsea and I all played in a band together years ago called the Taha Hiss, and then Chelsea and her played in a totally different separate band called the Foxgloves, and doing a lot of garage rock stuff when that was real big in Portland. And so that was cool. So she was in. A good friend of mine, Jesse Cunningham, he's like the local badass steel player and an amazing guitar player too, with an amazing collection of guitars, I gotta add. He's got all kinds of cool stuff that it was just kind of like, he's like, should I bring this? And I'm like, oh yeah, oh shit, oh, just if nothing else, it'll look good if I took a picture of it, like, check out this guitar I wish I owned, So but yeah, it was great. I mean, they came out and then like, and it was like weird. Like I was actually prepared, like I had my songs written and arranged and like ready to go. Like I actually put a lot of time and practice into like how it was going to go down, and actually like took time to produce the session as well. Like between me and Tyler, my drummer, we spent a lot of time like talking ahead of time and kind of having a good game plan for what we were going to do, how we're going to do. Like I even did a couple test like demos and stuff to like figure out how I wanted to do the drums, because I want a very specific like drum sound, and then I wanted to make it the best sonically sounding record, the best one I've ever done, which is hard when like I'm still learning how to record, still learning how to mix and produce records. And it's just it's like a lifelong education for me. I'm kind of a hard learner, and I'm not the smartest, but
I actually went to school to become an audio production artist, or artist, I guess. And fuck, man, I'll tell you something. I ended up dropping out about 6 months into that program, and I've learned way more outside of that just by doing shit on my own than I ever did in school, man. It's just a thing. You gotta learn it the way you learn it. You don't. I mean, I guess some people can learn it in a school, but not me.
Mm-hmm.
Not me at all. It's a process. Like you said, I'm a hard learner too, man. It takes me a lot of time fucking with shit on my own to figure out how it works,
Yeah. Yep, for sure. I mean, it's fuck. I mean, it was like, and the amount of years too to build up the equipment, like we've got a decent little mic locker going now, like, and then it was kind of like combining gear, like everything I've collected over the last 20 years. And then Tyler, same thing. Like Tyler had a couple preamps they're awesome sounding little preamps. They're just like, they're actually made by a guy that he works with. They're like, it's like a little 4-channel boutique tube amp, and it's like there's only one of these in the world. This guy built it for a audio company, kind of like one of those indie audio guys was gonna like start a company and make these little boutique preamps, and then he made a couple of them and decided he didn't want to do it anymore. So he's just got this cool sounding little thing, and so that helped out significantly with a lot of the sounds we got out of the record, as far as like just a good clean mic pre. And then the sound of the place was cool too. It's just like, it's like in a log cabin, it's like got this cool like fireplace that's huge. It's enormous, and it's except for the first night we lit a fire, and Tyler closed the damper on it, and so we like smoked the house
smoked the whole fucking house out.
We're out there like running around, there's fire alarms going off, all like just that it was kind of hilarious too, because we got everything set up, and we always do this thing like Tyler's I call him the bad influence. He'd probably point the finger back at me, but the bottle of bourbon always gets opened and the cap gets thrown away. And,
yeah, we used to do that.
Oh geez. So we just wreck ourselves the first night. We did try some takes, but I mean, and I still I kept all the outtakes. They're hilarious. Like, oh man, if somebody were to like get a hold of like the first couple versions of things, and it'd be a good laugh. So yeah, I kind of want to do like a little dance remix of all the outtakes of some of the stuff,
Yeah, at least like a track of just bloopers of you guys saying stupid shit. Probably, I'm sure there's plenty of that on there.
Oh yeah, there's lots of it. So yeah, it was the first time I actually have a significant amount of B-roll on a record, you know. So yeah,
Did you
there's a
guys
couple
do
of
it reel
songs
to
that
reel, or
made
did
it.
you do it?
It was all digital. I guess I guess it's kind of a weird thing now. Like my stance on it's changed a little bit. I guess they call it like an analog front end and a digital back end. So it's
Yeah,
actually laid down digitally, but yeah, but I mean, it's, you know, everything was going into, like, we used, you know, all analog compressors to mix it, all analog gear, you know.
yeah.
It's just the only thing is just
Kind of
not
the
rolling off
norm
the bus.
now. Yeah, yeah. It's kind of cool though. It's kind of got the same feel.
Yeah, yeah. It's, well, you know, digital's come a long way too. Like,
Oh yeah.
it's just, you know, uh although I have noticed like my mixing's improved since I started using like analog compressors. Like, there's like the 1176 compressor. Like when people mix, they love that compressor, and there's plugins and they do an awesome job. I mean, and there's people that mix completely in the box and do a phenomenal job. And I've noticed that like a lot of times mine kept coming out kind of flat, you know, and a little dull sounding, and, you know, not, you know, just, I don't know, what I wasn't achieving, what I was not getting the most out of what I was trying to do, I
Yeah,
guess. And since I switched to analog, I think all the only difference is like I'm just using my ears instead of looking at a TV screen, you know, like just taking my eyes off there, and I'm like listening to the speakers, and like, and I think that's helped substantially, you know, in my craft for myself personally. But yeah, it's kind of a weird change, but it kind of sucks because it takes a lot longer to do it that way, because I've only got one, right, instead of being able to, like, you know, put it all across the screen and like tweak them all, you know. So
yeah. So how do you plan on how are you how are you planning on releasing this? Are you going to go with this new route of releasing singles every so often until you have the full album out? Seems to be what like the popular thing to do these days. I've never done it that way, but I think
yeah,
maybe I think we were talking about this actually a
yeah,
while ago.
yeah, I think it's going to be like single after single for a little bit. I mean, because it's coming out May 6th, so probably do another couple singles. Like, I really like exploring the video side of things, you know, like we've been enjoying that. And um especially the band, like they're like really behind the idea of, you know, putting together like a collaborative video process. Um and I've noticed that people connect with music videos way more than they do just like a simple recording. Like, as far as like making a better first impression, like it's really difficult to go to anybody in the world and just hand them, you know, audio, and, you know,
Yeah.
like, and they're just like, oh, this is great. But there's something about like the impact of seeing something visually and the song. I think it makes a deeper connection initially, you know.
I think a good example of that would be, honestly, and I mean everybody would go back to this, but Johnny Cash's "Hurt" is probably the best example of that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if you would have guys like you and me probably could have heard that like through audio and been like, damn, that's good. But you
Mm-hmm.
do the naked ear to that, they'd be like, God, Johnny Cash sounds like shit, you know?
Yeah, yep.
You know, but since the video hit before any of the recording or the audio, you know, I think they really got a fucking idea of where he was at when he recorded that. And
Yeah,
like when you saw that, you're like, he's gonna be fucking gone in months, you know, like
yeah,
this is his last hurrah, you know.
yeah,
Sure as shit, you know, it was. I think that album came out probably around January, and then he was gone in September. So
sure. Well, even, yeah,
not on
that,
my
and even
birthday.
what was it, the Willie and Merle, when they did the, you know, it's going to pot video, like, it was just them in the studio, you know, kind of singing along and doing the process. But shit, that, like, you know, I mean, Willie's always been huge and Merle's always been big, but it just like it recatapulted the record to #1, you know, like, and these guys have been, you know, they've had plenty of #1s, but I mean, to do it when you're like in your 80s, you know,
That's
that's pretty
insane.
remarkable. So yeah, it's just kind of those things, and it's also something I've never really done before, you know. I just never, you know, I've been doing the same shit for, you know, I've been using the Dusty Rust moniker now for over 10 years, which is kind of weird to think it's been that long, you know. And it's like, you know, it's like my own personal little journey into the music world, you know. Um yeah, I just kind of like got to this point, like, what could I do different, you know? What, you know, I'm tired of doing the same thing where you make a bunch of records, you know, you sell 100 copies of it, and then you're like stuck with, you know, a shit ton of vinyl, and you know, it costs you a lot of money, and it's like an emotional heartache when you got to go through the motions of making a record. And, you
Yeah.
know, and it's like, and it takes a big piece of you every time you do it and you put it out, and the energy behind it. And it's like, I don't like the way it makes me feel like when I'm getting sucked dry to this process. Like, what can I do to make this fun and not feel like I'm gonna, freaking die of a heart attack at the end
Well,
of
it's
this?
like,
Because
that's when it becomes work, It's like, there's that line on Almost Famous where like, didn't we all get into this because we didn't want to work?
yeah,
And
mhm,
that's when you start that and the booking and the going hard, you realize people don't appreciate what kind of fucking job it is to be a musician, especially
yeah,
like a working one, not one that's just like on the road having everybody do shit for them, motels every night. But man, if you're hungry, and especially these days, man, because
yeah,
it ain't easy. Like, I mean, I feel like it was probably easier in the 70s in some ways because you had to be damn good then. Like, you had
yeah,
to be fucking good. And nowadays, anybody can really fucking do it. Shit, I mean, fuck, I would drown in the 70s as a musician, or the 60s, Like, we're
mhm,
talking like the same, they would record all that shit live, like Motown and stuff like that. All that shit was done fucking live. Like,
yeah,
now you punch in of as many fucking times as you want. You fucking, back then they were like, you got as much time as you need, you can do it in somebody's house, and you'd be fucking good back then. And so that was working its own too, but like, you got to be like ready to be poor. It's a fucking commitment, man.
yeah,
Do it on the level we've done it.
yeah, yep. And
But
then,
yeah, it
well,
takes a lot out of you. Then the album process too. You're right. Then because you take all your experiences from essentially a lot of that stuff and the work that you've done in that. So getting the experiences to do it, if you're the songwriter, like that's that kind of songwriter, that's always shit. And then you got to fucking hear it come out, and
yeah,
do the whole shebang of recording and dumping the money into getting printing and art, and like, people don't understand it.
yeah, yeah. And then on top of it now, like it's difficult to tour. I mean, they're starting to open up venues now, but they're still like, it's difficult, and there's the guys that kind of get the first come first serve that are, still out there touring, and if you kind of taken your toe out of the water a little bit, I mean, there's probably a few places I could, I'm probably close enough with the owners I could still get booked at and probably go play here in a couple months, but
It's like starting over.
kind of, yeah, in
Yeah,
some ways.
even though, like, I haven't really gone on. Well, I went on a couple big ones, but I haven't even went on like any big ones for a while. But like this, if you're not doing it all the time, you fall out of fucking practice quick.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
you become irrelevant quick, and people forget you fucking quick if you're not out there doing it. Like,
yeah, mm-hmm.
so this pandemic hasn't done anybody fucking any favors. And we
No,
were talking earlier, like Westport, all these, a lot of my favorite venues shut the fuck down, man, or they're struggling. They're not going to want to take on a show that's going to lose them money when the shit opens back up. And probably not a show that's going to make them a shit ton, if anything, unless I'm
mm-hmm.
with somebody who's backing them in.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it's nuts. I mean, I talked to a couple guys I haven't talked to in years, and it was just kind of crazy. Actually, I got pretty drunk. It was a couple months ago. Not that I get fucked up all the time, but yeah, I was actually drinking some whiskey one night, and I haven't been drinking too much whiskey lately. I just kind of been on a beer kick, and I wound up getting a call from JV Beverly.
Oh,
and
fuck.
we were both drunk, and I think we talked for like fucking 5 hours, and he's keeping himself really busy. Like, he's got he's like got like a new brand of knives, because I guess he forges knives and stuff, and he's working on a new movie and stuff, and I think he's starting to work on some new music too, which we talked about that for a while. And then the other guy was Leroy Virgil from Hellbound Glory. He just kind of randomly hit me up. He's
Two
like,
peas
hey,
in a fucking pod, man. Jesus.
yeah, I was like, what the fuck? He's like, hey man, are you in the Northwest? I think he saw, because I was like, one of my what do you call it, the little location tag on your pictures when you post on social media was like Kelso, Washington. He's like, what the fuck are you doing in Kelso? And I'm like, well, I live here. And he's like, oh shit, man, I got some shows. I'm like, oh, okay. So, I don't know if it'll work out or not, but hopefully that'd be kind of fun to play guitar for somebody, and at least get back to playing a little bit.
Yeah, I heard he'd fucked his foot up, man. Me and Leroy, we never, I don't know. We had a weird checkered past. Like, there's two types of people in this world. That know Leroy. They either love him or hate him,
Mhm.
and my run-ins with him haven't been all that great. But the one thing I will say about him, and I can't take away from him, is he's a fucking great singer songwriter, man.
Oh yeah,
And a
Jesus,
lot
yeah,
of times, if you meet somebody and you don't care for them all that much, sometimes, and especially when you're in it, like you and me, like sometimes it'll throw you off their music. And with me, it's like, I still like just love his fucking music, man. Love Hellbound Glory and most anything.
yeah,
He's one of those fucking guys, man, that can just, he can pen a fucking song in his sleep and
yeah.
it comes out just fucking amazing, and got to give it to him, man. And to be honest with you, I mean, I don't like hate the guy or anything. I just had a booging with him that I didn't really care for. He's done some shady shit, but I guess that's what we do, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other
no
day,
doubt. Yeah.
St. Christopher called me a narcissist. I was like, well, we're all a little narcissist, we all kind of are.
Yeah, that's
Like,
funny. Yeah,
gotta be,
that.
Yeah,
this guy TJ that he plays piano for the Dace Brothers full time, and used to, when he had time, he'd come sit with us on Thursday nights at the Westport Saloon. And one time we were talking about that, and I was telling him how it was kind of unusual sometimes to talk about yourself and promoting your music. And the only thing, he just kind of looked at me and smiled before he took a little shot and twinkled his toes back up to the piano. But he looks at me and he goes, "Well, we're all a little bit of flaming narcissists now, aren't we?" And I'm like, "You're fucking right. We are, aren't we? Like, why else do we do this? Like, look."
Yeah, you gotta be, man, a little bit, because it's like, it's funny too, because I was like, my daughter's getting into music and playing music and art and all that shit, and it's really fun. But I was telling her the same thing, because she's like, it's just a weird world, like, because a lot of us like really don't like people all that much, and we don't like to banter or like be in public places, but we'll all sit on a stage and play songs that sometimes are from the deepest, darkest parts of the abyss of our mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, that's what I was like kind of telling Chris, like, yeah, we all kind of are, like we want that, but at the same time, we don't. It's weird. It's like I really, the thought of like going out in public, I hate, but like part of me is like, listen to my songs,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. No, that's just all part of the whole thing. I mean, it's just funny too, like the whole thing. Like, I don't know, you kind of triggered something in me between the beer I was drinking and we were talking about just people doing shady shit and stuff. I don't know why. This is kind of a random story, but I just think about other bands that have pissed me off in the past, and I won't name names, but it was pretty funny this one night. It was a Thursday night, and a friend of mine called me in another root scene band that's actually pretty prominent, and he was like, "Hey man, this band, like, they had like 2 different venues cancel on them and they don't have a show. Like, I'm sorry, this is so last second. Can they come play the honky tonk Thursday night with you?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, fuck it," and I even got them like, a little gas money and some free drinks and stuff for the deal. Like, I told them like, I'll knock off early about 11 o'clock and you guys can finish out the night, and we actually wound up having a really good crowd that night. And they plugged in and played, and they were definitely not anything like what we do, but they were really loud, like in a ear piercing sort of way that just like chased everybody out of the room. Like they cleared the place out pretty quick, and the owner of the place was a little bit pissed at me for a second. Sorry, Travis.
Yeah, I've been there, man.
But I was like, well, just trying to do a friend a favor and blah blah. And so like whatever, but they were like seemingly thankful for the show, and ironically they came back through playing with what the hell is the name? I want to say it was the goddamn Gallows. I think they were opening up for them, and I was like, oh shit, like they're coming back through this weekend. That's kind of funny. Like, well, I mean, it's like, I don't think they had enough of a following to make a difference as far as poll or anything. So, they come back in there, and one of my friends at the bar was like, dude, what the fuck? They're talking shit about you. This kid was one of the guitar players of this band, was up on stage talking mad shit about me and the honky tonk night and like how stupid it was and all this. And I wasn't even paying enough attention to realize it. And I looked up at him, and sure enough, he's on the mic going on a tangent, and everybody's kind of half snickering, but kind of not sure because they could see me across there. And I walked right up to the stage, right in front of this poor ass kid who looks me right in the eyes, and I think he kind of like took him a second, and he realized like,
oh fuck, I fucked up.
He's like, and I go, excuse me, young man, like, I'm standing right here, like, like that's kind of fucked up, and that's kind of like I said to him. And then he was kind of like, then he didn't really have much else to say. And I was like, hey man, want to go outside and discuss this? Like, like I thought it was pretty fucked up. I did you that big of a favor, and like, like it seems kind of personal now. I don't know. And then I just let it go, and I kind of laughed it off, went back about my evening and forgot all about it. And then that fucking same band, like a month later, hit me up again for a gig. And I'm like, after that shit, like, fuck you. Like, I had to like block him on Facebook because he hit me up like a couple times. I'm like, dude, no, like, are you shitting me? Like,
you're gonna have to tell me who it was when we get off here. That's funny. There's this band that's kind of local around here that I had to block their fucking guitar player too, because like they wanted to play Ruckus, and it was just like kind of the same thing we were talking about earlier before we hit record. But they wanted to play Ruckus. It was super late, but with this band, I was just like, no, because it was like a week out. I was like, no, and they're like super local, but they're kind of like into some of the same shit, So, so I was like, nice, like maybe next year, like, and they were like, but this lady, then she starts tagging me, tell these guys you want us to play there. I'm like, it's not gonna fucking matter unless you get, like it doesn't fucking matter. And then she like starts talking shit to me, and I'm like, okay, so I guess you don't want to fucking play then. Like, fuck you. Well, anyways, then our like guitar player gets on, and he like starts emailing me and stuff, and he's like, hey man, I just want to apologize for my singer. I'm like, it's cool, man. And he's like, so yeah, then he starts hitting me up again. I'm like, no, it's like not gonna happen, especially not gonna happen now since your fucking singer's being a fucking bitch. And he's like, oh, that's how she is, But anyways, for like 2 or 3 years he'd hit me up, and then he'd be like, hit me up for shows at Buck, and I was like, no, like not a fucking chance, dude. Like, no, like she never apologized. You're apologizing for her, and she, like, and essentially, like, that's just dumb. Like, that shit irritates the fuck out of me. Like, they're local too, and it kind of sucks because there's not a lot of people around here that dig like Towns Van Zandt or Guy Clark and shit like that. So when I'm hearing them play covers like that, I'm like, oh, that's cool, and they're doing like a fairly good job. But I'm like, fuck you, like,
yeah,
like, go out on the road, because the thing is they don't play anywhere besides outside. Probably, I mean, they've probably been up to Lewiston a couple times, but I mean, they fucking Pendleton, Tri-Cities, fucking LeGrand, fucking Middleton, or not Middleton, but Lewiston, and it's like they don't fucking ever go anywhere outside there. I'm like, if you did, you'd probably understand. Like, you're not shit. Like, I could spit and hit a fucking band like you, like, which is fine. But like, and you might be cool at all the bars around here, but I've heard a million like you, and that doesn't even turn me off, really. It's your attitude about it. Like, you're fucking so cool that like you can talk shit to me when I was nothing but polite to you, Like, I understand I'm booking a fucking music festival. It's got like 24 fucking 30 fucking bands on it for 2 days, and you hit me up a fucking week before the festival and expect me to just fucking make room for some local fucking band I've never heard of. Fuck yourself.
Yeah, well, it's crazy, man. It's just crazy, like the thought process behind it. It's like, man, everybody knows that there's like a general etiquette, that goes along with booking and all that, and
But not everybody does know. And I think a lot of the times I see these motherfuckers get kind of successful, and I think it's because they ignore that etiquette too. It's like part of me is like, and and I hate to go back to this, but Leroy's kind of a prime example of that.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't give a fuck about etiquette or anything, and I kind of admire that about him in a lot of ways, and I'm probably going to regret. There's going to be a million Hellbound Glory fans that are like, fuck Dog by Harris, and like, I'm not taking anything away from him, and everything those guys love about him is probably what makes him who he is, just because I don't care for him, but I mean, that's a prime example of somebody that does kind of fucking just not give a fuck about etiquette and just goes, and it works for some people. It really does. And it sucks because I'm not like that, and I know a lot of great bands that aren't like that, and they don't have the fucking recognition that some people that completely ignore that etiquette have,
Sure. Yeah. Although it's done me. I've done a couple things like, for instance, when I was booking a couple tours, years ago, like one thing I remember years ago, somebody told me, like, whatever you do, don't pick up the phone, don't call the place. Well, turns out some places that's the only way they book, and if you don't know that, and so I just said, fuck it. I wasn't having much luck. And sure shit, man, I landed like 5 gigs in a row just by picking up the phone and calling the place, I was like, holy shit. Like, and I don't remember who gave me that advice or whatever, but I mean, and I don't suggest anybody out there that's listening to this, try that whenever you've been, because obviously it's not a good thing to do all the time. But I think there's certain venues, like especially like at a small town bar somewhere, like,
Yeah.
that's probably the good way to go, like, who are you? What do you do? Like, let me look you up on Facebook or YouTube or whatever. Like, oh, okay, great. Like, let this work out,
Yeah.
versus, but
I think that might be how we met, dude.
it probably might've been. Yeah.
Because I don't know if I didn't get an email from you, but they were like, so they're like, this guy called the bar and we sent him to your page. And I was like, all right, that's weird. But
Oh
anyway,
yeah.
so then I got a message from you. I was like, all right. And then like I was supposed to be out of town. And I was like, and the thing was, is like I couldn't do shows and just book it at the show because I had all the sound equipment and everything.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, but then I was like, kind of like, I listened to you. I was like, well, fuck, I really want to actually have these guys at the park because they're really good. And like, that's rare that happens. So, yeah, I think I ended up having my plans fall through. So I was like, fuck it. Yeah, come through, man.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Was Buckman still doing shows?
No, man. I mean, pretty much, when I quit kind of fucking with it for a minute, it all kind of fell apart because like I'm the guy with the sound equipment. I'm the guy that's got the drive to set up and tear down, and they're good to me for a lot of years. But I mean, it's just a matter of like, you have too much of a good thing sometimes,
Oh, sure.
especially in a town of 1,200 people. I mean, people were just, I mean, it's the same reason Ruck has failed essentially, as the town just got over it. And my overhead cost was so much more than what anybody wanted to pay to get in. And everybody there was entitled, thought they should get in for free or for like $1.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, we can't book fucking 2 days of music and give you guys a pass for like $5 a weekend every time,
Yeah. Oh
Which
man. Yeah.
my favorite ruckus ever was the first one, and that's what we did. I just called it All the Friends, man. Like there's a band that was called Angie and the Car Wrecks that was around. They were my friends, and then Honeycut, and then a few other people. I called it like 10 of my friends, and was like, hey, like I just want to get a music festival going. Farmageddon Fest shut down, and I just want to get something going, and we're just going to shut down the back parking lot of Bucknums and we're going to have fun. I'm not going to promise anybody shit except you'll get let's even split of what's going on, And that was the best one ever. I just charged $5 at the fucking gate. Everybody came up, everybody made like $100, something like that, and it was good, man. The next year was fun too. And it was when I started trying to push it to grow where the problems really happened, when everything was going organically and I was just having fun with it, that's when it was the most successful.
My wife wants to come say hi.
No.
Just trying to figure out what time.
Oh, what time I want coffee? Well, I'll be up about 4. So yeah, 4:15. Yeah, it's an early rise. It's got to go out to the airport to do some real important drywall mission out there. So yeah, no, I just
poke out of that back room back there a second ago.
Yeah. No, she was just like, what's going on? I'm like, oh. Yeah, I got it's kind of cool, this little house. I'm in this I think this guy used to have like a wood shop down here, but I'm gonna start tearing this place apart here in a few months, and it's gonna become a full-fledged recording studio.
Nice.
So right now it's kind of my little, I guess it's just like my little cave.
For some reason, you and Lauren Walker are like, you guys could be like brothers, man. It's like you guys are. His music's a lot different than you, but you, for some reason, you two remind me of each other. Even though your music don't sound the same, it's like you guys like both are having kids around the same time, and like he's building a studio in his place and buying. Like you're both kind of settling down, and I think it's too because you guys are both just like real ass country too, man. Like two of the best. I've always wanted to see you guys do a fucking good tour together. I've been saying it for years. Tagging.
I know we talk about it occasionally, and then lo and behold, like the world shuts down, and then we both have kids at the same time, and it's like,
it's cool to see you hop on guitar for some shit with them too.
Yeah, it'll happen one of these days, like, yeah, we're definitely a kindred. Like I always very much cherish my time with Lauren. We had a chance to sit down bullshit, and God, that guy's a hell of a fisherman too. Like he's always like, I fancy myself kind of like I'll pick up a rod and drown some worms and drink some beer, but that guy's like a serious fisherman. Like he gets it done.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot of people I just think about that too. I miss. I mean, there's just like my buddy Chad Graves, for instance, he plays in that band, the Hillbenders. It's like a bluegrass outfit, and well, I don't know how. I think they kind of changed up their sound a little bit because they added a drummer and stuff. But they actually put down a new single. he just had a kid too. So him and his wife are like, and plus they have their own band too. They play local in Southern Missouri. And so, I mean, it's like, he came up and played with me at the saloon on our last show and there in December, but and they're just freaking busy. Like he'll be touring for 2 months. And then I keep thinking maybe magically I'll be able to borrow him for like a week run or something. But I don't even know how much touring we're gonna get done this year. I mean, it's like, good Lord.
Well, if you're in the union, man, you probably have have to jump through a lot of hoops to get like enough time off to go for a long period of time, don't you?
Yeah, it's not too bad. I usually just tell them like well in advance, like, hey, I'm gonna take some days here, take a week here, and like it becomes a problem like when I'm running a job or something, like it's a bigger project, then they're like, yeah, when you're like running it, they're like, well, what do you mean you're gonna be going away? And I worked for the company before for almost 10 years and then moved to Kansas City for 5 and then came back, and then I just started working for them again just a couple of years ago. And so it's kind of weird because like there's some of the guys have been there for 30 years, they're still there, and I'm like, what the hell were you doing in Kansas City? And you're like, I don't know. And then the next thing like they're kind of talking about like, I guess he plays guitar or some shit,
Yeah, oh, fuck, I get the same thing.
Yeah, and you're like, yeah.
In my line of work, a lot of those people, I'm like, please don't try to find me. Like, please don't try to find me, because I work in mental health. So I'm like, fuck, please don't try to find me. Yep. Like, what kind of music do you play? Oh, it's like country, like Luke fucking Bryan or Luke Combs. Like, no.
Nope, nothing like that at all, actually.
It's hard to explain. That's what I always say,
Yeah. Do you make any money doing that? Well, then why do you do it? This weird thing.
I'm fucking crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, it's but it's not too bad. Like, my bosses are pretty cool. So I'm generally like, if I give them playing notice, it's not too big of a deal. It'd probably be a little bit of a deal if I was like, I'm gonna be gone for a couple months, but I don't even know. Like,
my buddy worked at the iron worker union for a while, and they were hard, man, on them guys. Like, he couldn't do shit hardly without fucking sucking a dick to get a few days off,
Oh yeah.
Those guys go at it. So I wasn't sure if the Carpenters Union was a little different, or is that what you do, carpentry, or is it?
Well, yeah, I do some, but it's I'm in the drywall finishers. Actually, is what it is. So we used to be associated with the painters, but there was a kind of a bitter divorce a year ago. I think a lot of it was politically driven, like,
oh, fuck.
So just union politics or whatever, and then finally, I don't know, tapers don't like being called painters don't like being called tapers. Next thing you know, like, here we are, we're gonna go our separate ways. So yeah, but it's all good, like yeah, they were doing digital meetings monthly, which was nice, because you could just check in and see what's going on. And then but now it's like they kind of changed it back up to, well, now you have to be like, they'll still do the Zoom meeting, but yet you're supposed to show up in person. And like, my favorite part of it is just going to the bar beforehand and having a couple drinks and giving each other shit, and then going into the meeting and then leaving. But nowadays people are just like, nobody even goes to them anymore, hardly, since the pandemic and shit's gone down. Everybody just stays home. So it's like, well, whatever, fuck it. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens with touring in the next, it seemed like it shut down quite a bit last year or the year before. Obviously in 2020, 2021 was hit or miss, and I don't know, 2022.
Yeah, it's like, it's hard saying, man. Like, I know I've been talking to Joshy from Moonrunners, and we're all pretty hopeful for a minute, and then Moonrunners happened in September this year. But he was saying like he's worried now again about this new variant, and everybody's getting worried about that now. But it's kind of weird because like they're saying the new variant's not as bad as the old one, but it's like every time you feel like you start to make fucking headway and start to get someplace with this shit, there's something else that fucking pops up, it's like,
yeah,
I've I try not to be too either way about it, but it is getting tough to not be like, just pull the Band-Aid off, at least for me, and
yeah,
I know a lot of people fucking disagree with me, and they probably got their reasons for sure. You know, like I love like one person that really put a lot of shit into perspective for me, because for a minute I was like back on the, like I've kind of bounced back and forth and tried to stay in the in between and kind of try to stay out of it and just follow lead and do my own thing and just worry about me through it, you know. And but the one person that got me with it was like Honeycutt was talking about how his mom was going through like cancer treatment through the pandemic and how fucking that really affected him deeply. And I was like, I guess that makes sense. That would be definitely a reason to be more passionate about getting vaccinated, because, when you're going through chemo and shit, you don't have the option to even do that. If you're an anti-vaxxer, that's great for you. But like, if you want to get the vaccine and most people that are doing that they're more susceptible to die from it, so then they're the people that can't fucking have it,
Mm-hmm.
so it's kind of, I can see kind of both sides of it. Some,
Mm-hmm.
I think both sides get a little too extreme on all ends, but and the shitty thing is it's a pandemic and it's became political.
Yeah.
It's like, if there's anything to shut the fuck up and get over the Democrat Republican bullshit, it would be a fucking pandemic, in my opinion. Like, just get on fucking, just do what it takes. And if we would have done it, we probably could have been over the hump by now.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Yeah, I mean, there's been kind of a lot of infighting even at work and stuff. They talk about that. And shit, just the other day when I was flying out to Kansas City, I went up to Seattle, and the thing that got me a little bit funny was I go to this bar, and it was a kind of a cool place. They had like cool country music in there. First time I'd been in there a couple years ago, and my buddy Tyler and I went in there, and they're like, okay, you got your ID ready? Okay, where's your vaccination card? And I'm like, my vaccination card? Why the hell you need to see that? And it was like, it's the city law or whatever. And I'm like, what the fuck? And so like, I call my wife. I'm like, hey, Hunter, could you send me my vaccination card? Like, and meanwhile, I like looking across the bar at this place. I'm already inside. I'm wearing a mask. It's like packed shoulder to shoulder across the bar. All the tables are full. There's people walking up and down the aisles, passing each other. Like, is my vaccination card? I mean, I'm vaccinated. Like, I can tell you that. But at this point, if I've got it or anybody else is here got it, we're all kind of fucked. I
imagine we feel pretty similar about things. That's kind of how I look at it too. It's like there's so many things that make no sense to me, and it's just shit like that. It's like either do it or don't. If we're gonna do it, let's just fucking do it, man. Like, if we're not, then let's not do it so it gets better quicker. Which we're beyond that point now. We're well beyond that point. Like, we might have been able to do that like right when it first started, but everybody got pissy right out the gate about having their fucking rights taken away and shit.
I feel like I'm in a fucking science fiction movie, dude. I mean, it's just like, I'd never in a million years thought that, like, if you told me this was how the next couple of years is going to be a couple of years ago, I would have been like, what? Like, you gotta be shitting me.
Dude, it's like watching that movie Idiocracy or whatever. I don't know if you ever seen that. I've seen pieces of it, but it's like, basically where society just like, instead of getting smarter, it gets dumber. And I mean, that's kind of what I feel like. I'm like, a lot of this shit's like common sense. Like, I don't understand where half these people are like train of thought is,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's what was that? Right when they shut everything down, and like my sister-in-law is the teacher, and she wound up like staying home from school, and there won't be school for the rest of the year. Like, that's when it got real. I'm like, I came home on a Friday, and that's what she told me. I'm like, wait, what? Like, are you shitting me? And then we watched, I think was it Pathogen or something? It was like, it came out like 10 years before, like, I think it had like Gwyneth Paltrow in it. Was it Pathogen, or maybe it was, I can't remember the name. I thought it was Pathogen or something like that. But yeah, man, it was like dead on. Like, they were talking about social distancing and using all the terms like 10 years before all this stuff had happened. And like, wait, what? And then of course, like a third of the world's population was killed off by this, thing by the end of the movie, and they had to heroically come up with a cure, and all this shit. And I was like, oh damn, like, I hope that's not how this turns out. But it's fucking wild, man. That's like, it fucks up your whole life, or whether or not you're making music or want to tour or just go to work, or it's like everybody's in it whether they like it or not. It's like
yeah, man. I think for me, it's funny. I always say, like, I didn't realize what kind of a people person I was. That's for sure. Because by the end of year one, I was like, God, let's go get some fucking shows already. Like,
Yeah. Yep.
and honestly, but I'll tell you, it was funny. I was kind of like, I had worse years than 2020.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah.
people, that was the worst year of my fucking life. Oh my God. I'm like, dude, I've had way worse years than
Yeah.
2020. 2021 was a bitch for me, really.
Yeah.
Right when
Mhm.
everything started opening back up, like, fuck, I've had like 4 friends die this year. I blew the ACL out my fucking knee, totaled my van. All this shit happened in like fucking a matter of fucking 6 months, and
Mhm.
and so this year's been way worse for me than 2020. 2020, I just kind of skated through it, man. I was essential through the whole thing. Government's throwing us money the whole time. I'm like, fuck, dude, I'm fine. This year brokered and shit. Fucking,
Yeah.
everything's fucked. So
Yeah. 2020 for me was like it was like 3 muses came out, and all of a sudden, like, I couldn't not record music every day. It was like great. I mean, I was working, but I'd come home and I'd turn on the fucking laptop and I'd start writing music and working on music, and it was weird. I think I made like 200 and something demos, like, and not just something like somewhat thought out songs of some sort over the course of that entire year. And it was weird. I just like let it run. It was like, holy shit. I just, all of a sudden, for the first time in years, I was like, I'm enjoying this. And like, I was completely fine being isolated, cut off, other than going to work with a bunch of dirtbag drywallers, like, I was completely fine. Like, and then 2021 was weird because, like, like, I kind of refined what I was doing, and then like didn't record as much, didn't write as much. And then it seemed like sometime about midsummer to late, I think it started getting to me a little bit, I was like,
yeah,
yeah,
it was about summer. Late summer, I think, is when, because that's usually when I got some cool shows going on and shit, so that was with me too. And but yeah, it's just,
but well, hopefully this year's better. I kind of have a feeling maybe we'll turn the corner. We'll see.
I do too.
Hopefully, it's just, time will tell, but I'm looking forward to it. We'll see what happens. I'm just trying to stay positive about the whole thing.
Inflation needs to calm the fuck down, though. That's for sure, man.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
It's fucking expensive as shit right now. It's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah.
The company I work for, just like, it seems like every 2 months we're getting like a $2 raise, and I'm still broker than I've ever been. Yeah. I'm making more money than I've ever made in my fucking life, and I'm like, just because everything's going up as I'm going up, and fuck, man, it's insane.
My brother, when he came over for the holidays, we were laughing. He's an accountant by trade, and so we were having a hilarious talk on economics. And he was telling how it was funny because he's like telling me about this news article he was article he was reading, and they were talking about inflation. They're like, well, the bad news is inflation, is up 6.8% for the year. The good news is wages have increased by like 3.2%. Like, okay, so so that increase of 3.2 doesn't mean shit, because if you make $10 an hour, and like 3% of $10 an hour is really not that much of an increase over the rest of the fucking groceries and gas and everything else.
I hate to give it to the like most conservative people called this, and I hate to hand it to them, but I mean, they knew, and I kind of figured too, they're like, but like on the other side, all my Democrat friends are like, but that's how you got to beat them. It's like, you just get in a war with them. So like, essentially, like, our dollar is going to be like completely fucking devalued. I'm surprised pennies even exist anymore. Like, it's getting to the point, like, I think I heard the story, like, after the World War II in Germany, people were literally using their currency to fucking wallpaper their houses. It was so useless. And that's like where I feel like we're getting at with it.
Yeah.
It's like somebody's got to fucking nail who's at fault for this and stop fucking dicking around with who gets paid what. It's like McDonald's can raise their wages to $27 an hour, but we got to stop the big corporations from charging more fucking money. Oil industries, because they just take that as a green light to charge more every time the wages go up.
Yeah.
So it's like really nothing's happening. I actually feel like it's getting, the wages are going up, obviously, but I feel like the inflation for everything else is going up higher. So it's like,
it doesn't balance out.
Not fucking balancing out at all. Like, I feel like I'd have to make another $5 more an hour to be comfortable. You know, it's like
Yeah.
you can't buy a fucking house anymore. You can't do shit. You know.
Yeah. I think it's gonna get worse too this year. I don't think it's gonna slow down. I think it's gonna take like a couple of years for it to finally like level out. I think wages will still go up, because there's enough demand for labor, but it's not gonna keep up with pace of inflation. I think it's gonna just
No.
I mean, the prime example, just look at Portland right now and the housing crisis. Holy fuck. Like
that
you drive down I-5.
that shit's bleeding over here too now. It's funny because like forever I used to stay over here, not because I like it here, but because the rent's cheap. And I'm like, I can just drive to Portland, whatever, because like you could get a fucking 2-bedroom house for a long time for like $400 a month. I mean, me and my buddy were renting a 2-bedroom house, little trailer house for $300 in 2012. $300 a month out here. It wasn't anything special, but it was definitely not, I've lived in worse places. But now, they put Amazon in over here and other corporations have moved in because it's open. And the pandemic did kind of help out with like people just being able to work from home too. Like more companies are allowing that now because they're like, well, fuck, we're wasting money on office space. We could have been doing this forever. So like people can work from wherever they want. So they're coming in and buying these houses up for cheap. And then fucking with Amazon coming in, it's like, it's spiking it up. We're almost where Portland's at now.
Yeah.
Then fucking all that shit. I mean, we're maybe a little cheaper, but for me, it's like, now it's my job that does keep me here. Before it was the fucking price of everything. I could work minimum wage and make a better living than making $5-6 more an hour down in Portland because everything was so much more expensive there. But now, nope. And on top of that, all the fucking idiots over here were like, we don't want to raise minimum wage. Fuck that. We see what happens when that happens. And now like they're fighting that shit and our shit's going up. And their wages aren't fucking going up because Portland was like, or the west side of the state was like, fine, have it your way. If you don't want to fucking raise minimum wage, fuck it, whatever. You can have your own fucking wage. You can leave it where it was at. We're raising ours to $15 an hour because it's so much more expensive here,
Yeah.
And now everybody over here is like, well, wait a minute. Like, that's expensive too now. Like, so fuck you,
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, yeah. Who doesn't want to make more money,
Yeah, it's just well, it's like people like I hate the concept that one job is better than the other one. And in some cases, it's like they're like, oh fuck, people who work fast food shouldn't fucking make a lot of money. I'm like, why do they have to deal with assholes like you? They have that fucking mentality in their head. That's what makes their job hard. It's not the fact that you fucking making fries isn't really that hard, or fucking taking money or providing customer service is hard. Providing customer service to a bunch of fucking assholes who don't fucking appreciate what you do, fucking and are entitled and fucking whine because their $2 cheeseburger isn't the way they fucking want it.
Yeah.
That's what makes their fucking job hard. That and being on their feet all fucking day. Like I realize it's not fucking mining coal, but it's not fucking easy. It's not as easy as people do it. And if people actually fucking had to do it, they'd understand,
Yeah, exactly.
Customer service is a son of a bitch job. And when people fucking say they don't fucking deserve a fair wage, anybody who works 8 hours a day should be able to afford to fucking live a comfortable life, in my opinion. And the concept of like, those jobs are meant for high schoolers or whatever, fuck you.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like a lack of empathy and understanding.
Exactly.
It's like
people think they're fucking better than somebody else because their job, as long as somebody's out there trying, and that's what makes people not want to fucking work.
Yeah.
You know? Is when you're working and serving these people and they're treating you like fucking garbage, it brings your self-esteem down to nothing, especially when you have to live in a house with 4 fucking people,
Yeah.
And a lot of times people are born into a society where people are shitting on anyways because they're fucking uneducated or their fucking life sucks because they fucking were born poor. It's like you gotta fucking live in somebody's shoes to understand what the fuck they're going through. And I hate that whole fucking mentality that somebody doesn't deserve a fair wage because they do a fucking provide a customer service job or something. Like where these guys, if these guys left, where the fuck would these guys be? They'd be fucking pissed if they couldn't get their fucking value menu for lunch or their fucking $8 coffees, Well,
and probably some of it too is just people like that learn that behavior from like the older generation, but it's like, well, the way of the world was when the older generation was around, it ain't the same fucking,
No,
we don't live in the
be
same
honest,
world.
those guys respected servers a lot more, I think. And that's why I
Mhm.
think, because they're like, back in my day, you used to be able to get that. Well, people used to tip and people used to fucking be nice.
Yeah.
People used to say thank you. People used to say please and thank you and didn't throw a fit like a child because fucking they didn't get their order exactly how they wanted it. Like people had compassion for fucking human beings then,
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it anyways. And like, I know that racism was a deal and shit like back then. So maybe, that might be an argument somebody had was like, well, they were serving black people out the back door at that time. But,
true. Yeah.
I guess that's kind of an argument. But like at the same time, like, I feel like there was a general respect for people that were working customer service then. And people would at least be like, you're working hard, like,
Yeah. A for effort, like you're showing up and, doing a fucking job, like there's a hell of a lot of merit in that alone, just fucking showing up, it's, I don't know, man. I wish I knew the answers how to fix the fucking world's problems. I wish I could.
Well, yeah, I think the biggest issue is there's like everything's a catch-22 too, it's like, well, you could do this, but this will probably happen, or you could do this, but this would probably happen. It's like, how do you do it? It's like a big giant mess,
Yeah. I think it just comes down to, I've heard people even have a catch-22 to this, but I call it like, well, most people would call it like personal responsibility. I think if you yourself, do the best you can and treat people the best that you can do it, and hopefully you're setting a good example for other people, hopefully that's enough, or at least a small enough a change, or maybe somebody notices that and maybe that they strive to be like that or do something, like you can only hope, it's like somebody, talk shit or something, like you don't necessarily have to return the favor, although it pisses you off or whatever, or I don't know, man. Like I said, I wish I had all the answers, but I try to be like that, although it gets hard though.
Yeah.
I'm not perfect.
This show's probably been kind of a piss poor example for me on that because I've talked shit a couple times, but like I am really actually trying more to adopt that kind of mentality, and I think a lot of mine too is being happy with what I got, I think that makes you I think that kind of makes it like easier to not be so pissed off at the world when you're just like, you know what, I could have it fucking worse, and just be appreciative of like what you have and try to understand that you don't need a lot of the things you think you need to, like you want those things. And if you get them, great, like you probably deserve them if you get them because it means you probably worked hard for them, but at the same time, once you let that go, there's a bit of relief to it, and that's something I had to learn this year where I was just like, I got to stop having huge expectations for myself, like just live in the fucking moment, and stop comparing yourself to these people because you don't have this and you're this age. Or like with me, I'm pushing 40 and I'm seeing all my friends own houses and, seeing them drive big old trucks, and make all this fucking money. And with me, I'm like, kind of just now coming into an area where like I'm making like I'm a boss, and like, but like then I look back and I'm like, the years that I spent kind of dicking off in a lot of people's eyes are some of the best times of my life.
Yeah.
And those are times I wouldn't take back for anything, but that's the reason I'm in a 2-bedroom apartment, not a house of my own, and so you got to look at, instead of fucking comparing yourself to everybody else's shit, appreciate what you've done and what you've got, because like at the end of the day, I wouldn't change anything, maybe a couple small things, but I've had a pretty good run and I had a lot of fun doing what I'm doing. And sometimes when you get caught up in the battle area, you don't stop to smell the roses, and I could be like, wow, I'm Dog Bite Harris, and I could look around and be like, fuck, man, I'm not, who's like, fuck, I wish I could be Cody Jinks. I could sit there and say that all fucking day long, but a lot of people, there's probably somebody that just wants to wish they like just wishing they could have fucking toured a little bit, and just wishing they could find a show, and I might only have 1,000 followers on Facebook, but at least there's 1,000 people out there that like what I do and want to know what I'm doing, And that's something that to just be appreciated. Like I said, just be appreciative of what you fucking have, and once you get out, it takes the burden off your fucking shoulders, man. And I've learned that the hard way. I've spent a lot of my life just being pissed off because I didn't have things I thought I deserved, and just because of the card I was dealt with, you know, and it, like I was kind of saying earlier, and sorry, I know it's supposed to be an interview about you and your shit, but like,
It's all good.
but like, you know, when you're born, like me, I was born poor, man.
Mhm.
People don't understand how hard it is to not be poor when you're fucking born poor.
Yeah.
You know, they just don't get it. They're like, well, if you work hard, you get money. I'm like, yeah, but you know, if you're raised a piece of shit, it's hard to get a job, you know, or it's hard to go to school. It's hard to when you, it's hard to get good grades when your parents don't give a shit. You know, it's like they don't understand these things. And then also then they're like, oh, those kids are bad kids. Well, yeah, they're fucking bad kids. The parents aren't fucking watching them or they're busy working all the time. A lot of times it's not the parents being bad parents either. It's just like they got dealt a shitty hand too, you know?
Yeah.
It's like nobody takes a minute to take a second to realize that somebody else is going through, you know?
Yeah. 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 Well, yeah, it's all perspective, you know, like
When
people
you
just
praise that way, it makes you angry, you know, too. It makes you fucking bitter. And
yeah.
it took me fucking 35 years to fucking finally realize like I'm probably my own worst enemy, you know? And honestly, it's just like with Ruckus, man. I'm like, fuck, I tried so hard to get that to work and it failed, you know?
Yeah.
But then I'm like, but why? Who says it failed?
Yeah.
No, it ended, you know, and all things come to an end, you know, and it probably could have done better and I could have made a lot wiser choices with some of the shit that happened, but I fucking had some great times doing that.
I
you
did too,
know?
man. There were some of my favorite festivals to play, you know. Like I said, I got great memories of yeah, I mean, you know, I got to play with JB Beverly. That was pretty fucking awesome.
That was a
And
good set too, man. That was one of my favorites. It's
yeah.
hard to find pictures for that. I was looking because I made a little slideshow because you know we shut the label down and everything, and I was looking for fuck. It's hard to find good pictures from that set and Gary's set from that too.
You should post and see if somebody's got some out there, because I every so often people come up with videos and stuff. I'm like, I don't. It's funny because I don't know if I just, you know, I've drank too much beer and my brain cells are fried, but I'm like, I don't remember that at all. But there's like video evidence of it. I'm like, oh shit, like, you know, fuck, oh, that did happen. Oh shit,
It does blur together, man. The older you, I used to be able to remember everything, like down to a time. I'd be like, I was in this town at that day playing with that band. This happened. And now like everything just fucking blurs together.
Yeah.
I'm like, what tour was that? Was that with Bob selling t-shirts or was it a dog bite gig? Was it on the show, the tour with Owen? Like, was it on the tour with Felix? Like what fucking tour was it on? You know?
Yeah.
I remember a lot of the newer ones, like with the Travelers and stuff, but a lot of the older stuff, I'm like, it blurs together over time.
Yeah. It's funny how that works. It's just like what happened. I think too, part of it is just time, you know, like it's just enough time goes by. It's just like, you know,
Well, and it doesn't slow down the older you get, man. It sure
no, you get, yeah, faster and faster, man. It's fucking crazy. That's what freaks me out, you know, like,
oh yeah, dude, we're gonna be dead before we even know it, man. Like
yeah,
the last 10 years for me, it went by like the first fucking 3 of my, you know, like of height, like from when I could remember. It's like it feels like it took the amount of time to get through 1st through 4th grade that it did to get through like the last fucking 12, 13 years of my life, you know?
yeah, yep.
Like I remember just everybody tells you enjoy your childhood, man. And they're like, it'll be gone before you know it. And sure.
Yeah.
You don't fucking care. You just want that freedom. And then you realize like that freedom isn't so great. And
Yeah.
Time. The second I graduated high school, it was like, bam. Like there was like waiting to be 21, which kind of was, you know, seemed like it took a little bit of time. But once I hit 21, it was done, man. I was like, I've got no age to look forward to. So it's like everything's just fucking going by quick, man.
Yeah. No, it's insane. I know it's my uncle a while ago is like, oh, there'll become a day where you'll put your guitar down, you'll stop playing, you know. And I started thinking about that for a while, and I was like, you know, I was like, I don't think I will, you know, like there may come a time where I'm like, you know, maybe not playing shows, you know, at all or whatever, but like there's just something about music and stuff that what it does for me, like I could, you know, it actually brings joy to my life, you know, like to just pick up a guitar, like it does something for me that like I can't get from doing anything else. And so I'm like, I don't, you know, like, oh, you'll get too old to play. I'm like, are you really ever too old to play music? Like, is that a thing? Like, I mean, you know, yeah, I'm probably too old to be a teeny bopper. You know, I'm not going to be like the next Justin Bieber, you know, like I'm not going to be on TMZ or whatever. Like, that's a damn fact. But like, who gives a shit? You know, like just the fact that I still have like you know, my fingers and I'm able to fucking play. I'm like, fuck, you know, I mean, there I actually had a thing that happened to me at work a couple months ago. Is fucked up, man. Like I had an elevator malfunction on me and fucking had a safety rail in there and I had to let go of the safety rail so it didn't pinch my fucking arms off and just jump back and like let an elevator. I basically destroyed an elevator car. Like it was fucking insane. Like it wasn't my fault. It was just some freak accident that happened, but it was like one of the most intense experiences I've ever had in my life. And I thought about like I was, it shook me up pretty good, and I was like shaking, like holy fuck, like what just happened? And I had to like go take a piss test, you know, for like, you know, all the insurance stuff, and I had to talk to insurance people and like big wigs, and I had to do like a meeting every day for like 2 weeks straight. It was fucked up. And but it like kind of like woke in me, like, you know, like we're talking about the little things and being appreciative about things. I mean, it was just like just the fact that I can still pick up my guitar. I'm pretty fucking thankful for that, because it's been a lot worse.
Yeah, it takes shit like that to make you realize sometimes. Like, you know, like when I got into my accident, blew my ACL out. I've never had a broken bone in my life, you know, or anything like that. Blew my ACL out, and it's kind of funny because I was like, I wasn't even that upset about it. You know, I was like, whatever. It could have been worse because like that guy hit me at like probably 10 miles per hour, and it was fucking insane. I mean, that guy would hit me at fucking 30 or 40. Who fucking knows what would have happened?
Oh yeah.
Lucky that he saw me and slowed the fuck down to where he was supposed, like, you know, and so I wasn't even that upset because I was like, could have been a lot fucking worse, man. You know?
Yeah. Yep.
Destroyed my van, everything worked out, you know, and it always does. That's one thing too, is like where you're stressing out about a shit, as long as you're being a fairly decent person and trying your best, like 9 times out of 10, it'll work out.
Sure.
Know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes there's that situation which is fucked, you know, but you still get on and eventually it'll become a memory, you know?
Yeah.
Unless you refrain from the murder or some shit, you know, that sucks. You know, but like,
yeah, then you're fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Yeah, sucks, man. You know, Kurt Cobain was a carpenter for a while, and I know you're drywaller, but Kurt Cobain was a carpenter for a minute, and he quit because he almost cut his finger off. He was only like 19 though, but he was like, fuck you, I'm not doing this shit anymore. If I can't play guitar, I'm gonna fucking, I don't want to do it. And my grandpa, man, he played guitar and he never even was in a band or anything. He'd play and sing songs for me, and we all loved it, you know, and we all loved hearing him sing. He had a great voice, and that kind of like, I don't know, his picking was cool, but there's nothing flashy, you know. And but he just did it because he liked to do it, and he did it until he fucking got dementia and he can't fucking remember shit or doesn't think about it, you know. He literally, even through parts of that, he would still pick it up and play it, you know. So like you said, I think that kind of shit's like what makes me believe there's like a greater power out there, you know. And it's like, I mean, I don't know what it is, and I'm not gonna get too religious or anything, but you know, the connection to like music and nature and things like that you just can't explain why. You know, it's like those things are what get me by too, you know. Like I don't play enough, you know, and I'm trying to change that, because I'm like with you, and where you like, you know, it brings you joy. And sometimes, like, you know, I get home and I just make myself do it, because like, even if I'm like, I got shit to do, or I'd rather just watch TV, I mean, it does bring me a sense of peace, and then I'm always happy I did, you know. And I think and I don't know if you can relate to this or not, but with me, like we were talking about earlier, it's like sometimes when you make that your job, it kind of takes the joy out of it sometimes, and you have to make yourself do it, you know. It's like, fuck, man, I wanted to be a musician because I love music and I connect with music on a way deeper level than probably the average person. You know? And that's why I wanted to do it. And then the business side of it sometimes can make it really not fun, and you see like shit you don't want to see, and fucking people fuck you over, and just shit happens, you know, and then makes you jaded. And sometimes you're just like, I don't want to fucking even think about music right now. I don't think about anything but music right now, you know. But then I'm like, and that sucks too, because the thing that used to get me through the shitty things in life is listening to music, you know. So that's when I started like going back and just listening to music, you know. It's like for a long time, like I forgot what it was like to just enjoy listening to it too, you know. I'd have to go I put on shit I loved in high school just to fucking listen to it. Even if it was like hip hop, you know, I'd be fucking tired of country fucking music. I could fucking puke. So I'm like, fuck, man, I'll have to go put on All Eyes on Me by Tupac because that was like my favorite album when I was in 7th grade, you know, and I could still relate to it and still love it. It makes me feel a little younger and feel like a little different, you know, and that's the best thing about music is there's something for everybody too, you know, and we're talking about everybody earlier where everybody's like, oh, fuck pop country, fuck this, you know, I'm like, whatever, like, I don't give a fuck if it's making somebody happy, fuck it, man, you know, fuck it.
Who was it? Somebody was telling me about, we're talking about people we'd played with in the past, and I was talking about like kind of high school because, you know, I came up as a drummer, and they were talking about jazz, and somebody brought up the name Esperanza Spalding, you know, and I was like, oh yeah, we went to high school together, like we played in a couple jazz bands together and shit, you know, and you know, of course I went off to be a dirtbag, and you know, she ran off and won a Grammy, and and so it's kind of funny, like, and somebody's like, wait a minute, you played with Esperanza Spalding, like what the fuck? I'm like, oh yeah, I was just like, you know, we just happened to be at the same place with the same jazz instructors, you know, it's like it was great, you know, she's a fantastic musician, all that, she's always been highly gifted, you know. Went to like jazz camp, like literally went to band camp with Esperanza Spalding, and it was just kind of funny. And they're like, there's like, what do you mean, you've played jazz and stuff? Like, oh yeah, man, like I kind of miss it, like setting up like a little jazz trio or something, like playing drums behind something. Like haven't done it in years and years and years, but I was like, it'd be kind of fun to, I wouldn't want to do it full time, you know, because I got really burned out on it, you know, in my early 20s, but I was like, it'd be kind of fun to do something like that again, like just to like kind of go back to like, you know, branching out. This is something completely different, you know, out of the norm. Like I said, mixing it up a little bit, you know. But
mine was kind of like when I was younger, I always wanted to do hip hop, and I've always like, and I feel like once this idea came around, like a bunch of people did it or started the process of doing it too. So I was like, fuck, like now that wouldn't be original. I couldn't do it, but like, but I was thinking about legitimately trying to do a hip hop album for a minute just to see if I could, you know, and if I fucking hated it and didn't want to put it out, I wouldn't, you know, but like, just because like, you know, when you're a kid, you don't have like, for me, I didn't have a lot of the music knowledge or the access to just fuck around and do it. And like, essentially a guy I know, like started like, he actually used to run this place out of Austin called Sweatbox Studios, like Nashville Pussy and Byram, a bunch of people like that have recorded out of it. And he ended up moving next to me at my old house and I own, like right next door. And I lived next to him for like a year and had no idea who he was. And then finally I heard Scott Byram like just pouring out of his house one time. And I'm like, that's weird. It's not something you hear in this area very often. It's a town of 200 people, literally, you know, that doesn't know fucking shit. So I was like, Well, so finally we end up meeting and he's like telling me about who he is. I'm looking at all of his like repertoire of shit. And I'm like, holy fuck. But I instantly, like, we bonded instantly. And he's like, oh yeah, you come over here, and like, he's like, hey, and then he was even like, I don't even really like to produce. I just like to engineer. Like, so if you want to like produce any albums, just let me know. And he's like, I'm completely like off the books now. He's like, so I don't want any money. He's like, I make a lot of money doing other shit. He's like, but I really love music. I want to do this. He's like, so just don't even drag me into any financial shit. Like, don't worry about it, because if I put it on, there's just more taxes for me. You know, he's like, I just get all the kinks worked out of my system and shit. So yeah, man, it was cool, man. Like, I forgot fucking kind of where I was going with that whole thing, but I have the access to do it, I guess, you know?
Yeah.
So I was thinking about just fucking doing it, but yeah, that's kind of where I was at. It's like just something different, you know? It might suck. I might not want to fucking put it out. I might realize I got in way over my head, but fucking just to try something different, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's even like this new thing we were working on, like this new record. I was thought it'd be kind of cool, like if you approached making a country music record as though you were making a Led Zeppelin record. And like in my head, the way I had it worked out wasn't really the way it came out. You know what I mean? Like I was like trying to go for something, but it kind of came out differently than what I was thinking. But
I think it's like the best thing you've done, though. I've heard, because you let me listen to everything on there, and I don't know if you've done more mixing to it or anything like that, but personally, I mean, I think fucking honestly, it's the best thing you've done. And
yeah, I mean,
I'm a fan of all your shit too.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely reached the goal of like, you know, making the best record that I've made yet. I believe, you know, somebody might argue like that maybe like Stolen Horse and stuff, which I think is a great record. Like my friend Chad Graves plays all over that thing, and he's a phenomenal musician. I just it was just this one's like more personal because like I don't know, like there wasn't really any co-writes. I mean, there's a couple co-written songs on there, but I had my hand in all the songwriting, you know, where like I basically wrote everything or had a massive hand in it. And like and then the only other thing I was trying to push the boundary on was like really making a legit like country rock record, but not like a Eagles type. It was kind of like I don't know. I was trying to blend and some of it I think came across like the first track on there, like The Rose Without a Home. I was really trying to get like that Thin Lizzy sound mixed with like country rock, you know, like I don't know. There's certain things I think I did what I set out to achieve, but other things came out differently. With
it's kind of weird.
To me, they're pleasant. Well, what's that?
Some of it does kind of have an Eagles vibe to me, really.
Yeah, a little bit.
I think it's because there's so many parts to it, you know. I think, and that's what made kind of the Eagles is there's so many parts to it, you know.
Yeah.
But
and yeah, it was just kind of like I don't know, like it was like the best laid plans kind of went to waste, you know, like and they just kind of became what it is, which is totally fine and totally what to be expected, you know. But yeah, I mean, we'll see.
It never comes out how you expect it to, or you know.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the cool thing is like you can have these visions, and as an artist, you have to let go of those visions too, or else you end up like Chinese Democracy by Guns N' Roses. That's why the album's fucking terrible. Because you'll never achieve your true vision. You just have to put all everything into it and let it become what it is. Because essentially sometimes the things that are the curveball are what make it special, you know?
Sure. Yeah. No, and it's yeah, I mean, I'm excited to get it out to the world, you know. It's kind of been weird, like I said, doing it this kind of a different way where we're like kind of releasing a little bit at a time, you know, kind of upcoming for the whole thing, which kind of excites me because it's like I think there's a lot of cool, like I think it's a pretty solid record from the front to back. And you know, so like, you know, the next single will probably be quite a bit different than the first. And so people that haven't heard it before are going to be kind of, you know, hopefully they'll be pleasantly surprised, you know, like, oh, this is kind of interesting. And if not, well, I'll just apologize now and maybe I'll do better on the next one. So, but yeah, no, it's cool, man. And it just, you know, like I said, just being able to make music with my friends was, you know, that kind of was like the extra cherry on top for me, you know, like it gets kind of weird when you try to play all your own instruments on record, and most of the time I would do that just out of necessity, you know, like, you know, but just, you know, being out and kind of outside the, you know, like Kansas City Cowboy, like I didn't really have a full band put together when I put that out. And like, I just moved to Kansas City and, you know, just like I was in an apartment, you know, so I had to like kind of be quiet while I was recording and stuff. And so that kind of made that record what it was. And then, Stolen Horse was kind of fun because we had moved over to the Kansas side of Kansas City. Like, so we were living next door to a gang house, you know, and like they'd already shot up our place a couple times on accident. And then our friend Pat Fiddle had gotten in a car wreck because we were in an ice storm, and he just happened to be in town and called us and was like, "Hey man, what are you guys doing?" We're like, "Making a record." It's like, "Oh, cool. You guys got whiskey and weed? Okay, great. I'll be over," you know? And so like, we sent like an Uber down there that had like chains on his tires to get him over the house. And, you know, so that was like a 4-day fucking drunk fest. And that record came out of that, which was a phenomenal experience. And that sucked too, because we actually took a lot of film of that whole thing, that process of, you know, recording at a house, and kind of went through how we did everything and kind of talked, you know, to each other with the cameras, kind of passed it back and forth. And then Gravy, Chad Graves had a hard drive, had it all stored on there. And he went up to the shelf to pick it off the shelf one day, and it slipped out of his fingers, hit the ground, and just disintegrated into like 1,000 pieces. And so, like all the documentation of making that record like went like away. Like it was so fucked up. We were just like, what can we do? And we like looked into maybe getting it, like having a company that specializes in data recovery, maybe look at it. And they wanted like an astronomical amount of money, you know, and we're like, well, we're not solving anybody's murder with this hard drive. So I don't think we need to spend the money on that. And I don't know, but it kind of would have been fun just for personal reasons to go back and see what the hell was going on, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
But, you know, but yeah, I don't know. This one we got a little bit just because it was such a neat area and all that. And I don't know. The only thing I found on my phone when I went back was Tyler, my drummer's a fly fisherman, and he was trying to fish the Grand Route, which was really high. and he kept snagging this fly in the weeds, and I was just giving it a bunch of shit, and so that was kind of fun. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I hope the world appreciates it when it comes out, and if not, well, shit, maybe I'll try again in another 4 years.
Yeah, you're never gonna make everybody happy, anyways.
No, hell no. So
yeah. Would you want to really? I mean, there's people out there I don't want to fucking like my music.
yeah, probably not. I mean, if I was making that kind of music and they were loving it and I hated it, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I never made music for the thought of trying to make somebody else happy. It just kind of works out that way,
Mhm.
which if you impact one person or two people, it's fucking incredible. It's like the thought that somebody emotionally connects with you through music it's like speaking a different language, right? And when they're picking up what you're putting down, it's a pretty awesome, remarkable feeling. It's like a connection. And yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things I think that keeps me going, doing it, and like doing it like on a commercial level where you try to actually like, you try to reach out to people, in a weird way. And like you said, the business part of that kind of fucks it up. It just makes it kind of boring and dull and a little, I don't know, just it's not all that fun, but kind of a necessary.
I kind of dug it, but it kind of took over me,
Yeah.
And I think it's just because, like, I'm not all that great of a musician. I'm an okay songwriter, and I understand that, and that's fine. Like you said, I kind of do it for me a lot of the time, anyways. But I was thinking, the one thing I am good at finding good music though, and bringing it to the world. So for me, it did kind of like go like, wow, maybe I can be involved in music in both ways. And so it kind of did take over, but I just got to find the balance, man. Either, no matter how you look at it, even when if you hate the business side of it and you have to do it, you just got to find the balance.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, how you find the balance is just keep your love for music.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't let the bad shit take it over, and remember why. It's like, if I would have had music in high school, I don't think I would have had a fucking purpose, man. Really.
Yeah.
Like even as a small child, like music was just always so important to me. And I meet these people and it's weird because it's not like that for a lot of people. And you don't realize that, because it's just been so huge for me. Yeah. And some people are just like, I've literally heard, I'm just really not that into music. I'm like, what do you how's that possible? Like,
yeah, how are you even walking?
Yeah, how are you even functioning? Like, are you a real person? Like, what do you mean you're not into music?
Yeah.
Like, are you an alien? That's what I imagine. I imagine those people are like aliens, and
yeah,
they're like some race that have realized that all the problems in the world are brought by feelings and emotions.
Yeah.
There's like a movie with Keanu Reeves. I can't remember what it's called, but they like make people medicate all the time so they don't have any emotion at all, and that's what like is brought world peace, and it's like the zombies fucking walking around, I'm like, it's like I don't understand how you just not into music, any kind of music. Like, fuck, for me it's like, I remember the first time somebody told me that, I'm like, what do you mean you're like into rap or like techno? Like, I'm just like not that into music. I'm like, what the fuck? Well, I'll put on like the car if I'm bored. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Well, I know Facebook's not really down with music, at least organically trying to put your music out there, man. Holy fuck. Like, anytime you put anything music related, they just like close down your reach. They're just like, no.
Man. It used to be so nice, dude. And MySpace, the days of MySpace were amazing. And then early on with Facebook, it was great too, man. I don't understand why they fucking hate. That's probably because that guy's a fucking robot. Zuckerberg's a fucking robot. That's probably why.
Yeah. He is that dude giving the medicine out right now. he's slowly manufacturing it and fucking, like, here we go.
Yeah, it's just not in the same medicine form, it's like,
yeah,
man, I wish some kind of other social media would come along that people actually wanted to be a part of, that supported art of any kind and not just fucking bullshit, fucking spreading propaganda. And
I know, I've been thinking about that. I thought about getting rid of my whole Facebook deal just because it's like, I've just noticed my reach is like I think I'm about maxed out on the friends or whatever, but it's like insane. Like, and I guarantee you, every one of those people that are on there are only on there because of like I've met them through the saloon or playing music somewhere on tour or something, like, and to the fact that I could post something and it only reaches like 12 people, like that's ridiculous. Yeah, it's like, really, so
it's fucking annoying. And even I would buy ads for Ruckus and they still wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, they want like $1,000. You know, I'm not paying you $1,000. And if you, I mean, I've given for Ruckus, I would give them like 100 to, I take out 200. I took like a $200 ad out one time and I didn't get shit from it.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, and they're like, Lauren's says he's got to figure it out. They're like, if there's like an art, you have to like use certain words. I'm like, why? Like, why? Why can't you, like, it be like it used to be where you just post something and they fucking show it to the people that are on your Facebook? You know, because if they're there, they want to see what you're into, especially if you're an artist, you know, and like he said, like somebody's friends with you because they met you at the saloon or met you at a show. They want to know what the fuck you're doing, you know?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's why they follow your page, you know. And then they went from like, okay, well, start a page instead of just because people were like making like Facebook profiles for like their bands and they'd shut those down because it was a false name or whatever. But like, well, make a page, and that's great. And then like that didn't fucking help at all either, you know. That made shit so much worse, man. Like MySpace is where it's at, and I wish they wouldn't have fucked it up, and I wish they would have kept it kind of like going the way it was, because it was perfect for bands, man. You could post your fucking tour dates, you could post your music on there, and then you could respond to your fans, and it was great, man. I don't get why everybody loved Facebook to begin with. I was probably one of the last people to fucking move from MySpace to Facebook. Like they drugged me on there kicking and screaming because I never got it. And I still don't get Twitter. I have a Twitter account, but I've probably not posted on that thing in fucking 3 years because I just don't get it. Or another one that I don't fucking get is TikTok. I don't fucking understand that fucking thing at all.
Yeah, I just started one. I have no idea. Like, I still have no idea how.
I've got one. I can't
like, what is it? You know?
I can't even figure it out. You know, it's like just keep it simple. Why is everything got to be stupid?
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. Yeah, it's the thing.
We sound like I think right now we sound like a couple old men bitching.
I think so. It's like, yeah, if you don't know how to use TikTok, you're probably too old. Like, oh shit.
My daughter's probably gonna listen to this and be like, actually, she probably won't because she knows it's gonna be something she's completely not interested in. But
yeah.
But if she did hear me saying, she would just be like rolling her eyes and shaking her head, you know. But
yeah, probably. Well, you know, oh well. Like I said, you know, I don't think either one of us are into what we're doing because of social media. I mean, you know, it might be the way we reach out to the rest of the world with what we do, but it's not. You know, it's not us. You know, necessarily.
No,
it's not.
through the whole pandemic, I shut my Facebook down probably 5 different times through this pandemic, just to take a break from seeing everything, you know, because it catches you too, man. I mean, I wish I had like the gift that some people have where they can just have a Facebook page and post a couple things and respond to messages. And that's that, you know, they don't give a fuck about what everybody else is posting. Like me, I'll fucking catch myself strolling on that shit. And I'm not even paying attention to what I'm fucking strolling through. You know, I'm just staring at it like a mindless fucking drone. Or one thing, and Fritz, I don't know if you know Whiskey Dick all that well or not.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, fucking Reverend called me out at a show one time. I was just sitting there like looking at my phone, and he walks up to me and he goes, "What are you doing? Acting like you're looking at your phone so you can avoid talking to people right now?" And I kind of was like, he's like, "Yeah, it's called social anxiety. I do the same thing. Put your phone down and come fucking talk to us." I was like, that's like, you know, you don't even realize you're doing that shit, you know? And it's like, I always used to be kind of social, at least like to where, but now when I get there, I'm just like, oh, you know, and that's instantly my tool to fucking keep people the fuck away from me. You know, because somebody sees you on your phone, they're like, oh, he's busy, you know, or whatever. And that's like, yes, my tool to keep people the fuck away from me when I probably come off as just a fucking asshole. When if I'd actually talk to people, they'd be probably more into what I'm doing or paying attention, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Dude, my goal in life, I think I have one of my top 3 bucket list goals. I think it's one of the top 3 is probably I would like to produce a Whiskey Dick record before I croak. That's a goal of mine. I don't know why. I've never even talked to him about it. You know, I'm buddies with those guys. I love their band. I just
hearing you play on some of it would be rad too, man. Hearing you and Reverend go back and forth with some shit.
Rev is a phenomenal guitar player, and Fritz's voice is fucking like,
it's beautiful.
It's like the voice of God. It's big, deep, and just like, he like, I mean, the man just could fucking sing. Like my sister, she saw him play down one of the Westport Roots Festival. She flew down there when we were in Kansas City, and my sister, it's hilarious. Like, is a huge whiskey. Like, she's got a bunch of their merch and shit. Like, just loves them. And yeah, like, and it's funny
I'm wearing
too.
their hat right now, actually.
Oh yeah, it's kind of dark on my screen.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I see it.
I love those guys, man.
Yeah, fucking Fritz, actually the last time he said he took his drink of whiskey, him and I were drinking together.
Really?
And I'm kind of embarrassed at that fact, dude. I have a couple friends that said the last time they ever took a drink of alcohol, they were drinking with me. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, what are you trying to say? You know? Like,
yes, they're like
like, so you want to wind up like a piece of shit, like, what? Like, what happened? And yeah, Fritz told me, he just said, yeah, man, I woke up and he's like, I just felt like shit. And he said that was enough for me. And I was like, huh. But I seem to remember having a great night when we were out there having some Four Roses whiskey together. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, no, it's just funny. Like, we talk about that, and I was like, yeah, I just want to produce, like, put a fucking band behind them and just make a record.
That's
for
one
them.
thing I'd want to hear, dude. I would want to hear him with a whole fucking band behind him, and God, those guys are fucking awesome people too. They're two of the fucking best people I've ever met, ever.
Yeah.
Like, in this whole thing, they are in it for the right reasons, man. They don't. It's, like, I've talked about this with a couple people, but I'm afraid because of like all their rebel flag shit, somebody's gonna try to fucking cancel them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're like a prime example. You should get to know fucking people before you judge them, because I don't give a fuck about any of that shit. They're two of the nicest fucking people in the world, but they've got that album where it's like Rebel Flags and Whiskey or some shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've had multiple conversations because James Honeycutt like loves them too, and they go out on tour all the time, and we've had like deep conversations. Like, they're like, no, they've got a plan for it and everything. Like, they're expecting it. Like, I'm like, because if people get on there and I'll put up with a lot of that shit, but if they start telling me like I can't fucking be friends with Whiskey Dick, I'm gonna fucking lose it. Like, that's where I'll draw the line with the Confederate flag shit or anything.
Yeah.
I've already had people tell me, don't listen to Pantera, and I just keep my fucking mouth shut, or down because Phil did the fucking Nazi symbol and they've got, all the fucking passion. It's like, you can't fucking do anything. But like, you tell me Whiskey Dick's bad people because of that shit, I will fucking go to war with you. Like,
sure. Yeah.
Because those guys have been great to me. They've been great to everybody I know, and they're just two of the sweetest people you'll ever fucking meet, man.
Yep.
Not a bad bone in their body.
No. No, it's fucking, yeah. Yep. No, I'm always 100% behind those dudes, man. They've been doing a long fucking
produce an album for them. I think they're kind of weird about that, though. They always like to do their own shit. They're like all DIY.
Sure. No, that's what I mean. I thought, like I said, I've never asked them or talked to them about it or anything. It's just always kind of been this secret little, like, I just want to like maybe casually slip it in an email one day. Like,
well, I'm going to tag, like, I'm going to put this in the description and tag them in so they know. I'm going to see it happen, kind of.
He's going to fucking write me some fucking, like, hey, like a 3-page email, like, hey, Dustin, fuck you, and fuck you some more.
That's not going to be the case.
No, I don't know. It's just, like I said, it'd just be like this crazy thing. Like, that's kind of my goal. Like, eventually with this home studio, when I get it built, like, I just want to make, like, it's kind of cool, like, this downstairs part of the house, like, there's a whole separate kitchen and bedroom and shit, and I just want to make it like this, like, place where people come in and, like, they're here for a couple days and we cut some tunes and they're got basically a whole living situation, and then can just go about their merry life, and then while we cut records or whatever. I don't know, just like a whole kind of an idea. I mean, we'll see what happens. It's kind of like we were talking about making records, how you have this idea in your head and then maybe it becomes something else. But yeah, we'll see what happens with it in the future. And it's also kind of like my house, and how sometimes recording sessions get a little out of hand, and maybe around. I don't really want that necessarily going upstairs. So
yeah, you'll have to test the waters with Chelsea, I'm sure.
See
how she feels about it after you do a couple.
Yeah.
Also, see, man, I'm sure if you cherry pick who you have in there, it'll be fine.
Yeah, totally.
For me, I don't even like getting all that fucked up when I record. Really, it's for me. Yeah, I mean, not at least in that way. I mean, I think I was taking some fucking pain pills or something when I was doing my last one, but my voice is so shoddy anyways. I don't like to put too much fucking pressure on it when I'm recording. So booze, smoking, any of that shit fucks me up. And So it's got to be like the perfect drug or perfect setting for me to want to take something and record anyways. So
Yeah.
I think there's probably a few more people like that out there too, you know, that when they're in the studio, it's like business, you know, it's like time to, but I get you. The other half are like, all right, let's fucking get artistic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, that's just it. Yeah, there's a certain level. And to me too, like, I don't know, like gotten just, I don't know, there's like a part of me that's kind of like gotten a little bit out of that too, you know, like getting too obliterated to be able to function, you know, when you're trying to do something important, you know, like I don't know. I've even considered, you know, putting down the booze for a while myself, but you know, we'll see, you know, just it's just funny how it kind of becomes synonymous with what you do, especially with like the old honky tonkin and rock and roll. And, you know, it's just kind of a weird, I don't know, but that definitely takes the edge off. That's for sure.
Yeah, man. You know, I think I had a lot more. I quit drinking pretty heavy, like right when I first started playing. And I think I had a lot more fun doing it when I was drinking. You know, I was like, I feel like I probably might have been a little more successful because like it took all that like you said, it took the anxiety away. But I'll tell you, those shows that I was playing fucked up were real bad. You know,
Oh,
like
yeah.
almost all of them were real bad. And I thought at the time I was like, this is great. Then like now I look back, I'm like, fuck, dude.
Yeah, I recall one night I was too drunk to play guitar, and it was when I got nominated for that Ameripolitan Award, and I was up against like Beerham and Hank 3 and shit.
Oh
And
yeah.
So there was an after party jam night, and I'd started drinking like pretty high octane whiskey with my buddy Travis from the Westport Saloon. We started drinking about 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning, and didn't stop. And I made it through the ceremony awards just fine. And I marched into the Continental Club down there in Austin with my telly on my hip and just like being Mr. Cool Guy. And I got up on stage, and the band hadn't even finished setting up the drum set yet. And Dale was like, get up there and show them what you got, you know? And I'm like, yeah, all right. And I got up.
What are you gonna do, Dale? You're talking about Dale Watson, right? Because he's in charge of it all.
Dale Watson, yeah. He's like,
get up there and show what Dale Watson on at you.
Oh yeah, he was like, just get up there. And I got up there, and Darcy Carlson somehow was like appeared out of nowhere. She just won the Ameripolitan Outlaw Female Award, and was up on stage with me. And I was trying to play Working Man Blues, but then I like looked down at my guitar neck, and it started kind of doing a snake looking thing and getting wider. The strings got kind of funky looking, and I was like, I don't know what's happening. And then I just forgot how to play guitar. Like it just, I don't know why. I was just like, damn, I drank too much booze, and it turned into a disaster jam. And then it felt like about 3 hours went by, and then all of a sudden Dale Watson's looking at me with this raised eyebrow, like when your dad's kind of a little bit like, son, what the fuck, you know? And he just kind of takes my telly off me and puts it on himself, and then just kind of takes the crowd down. The crowd's looking at like, what the fuck's going on? And kind of looks like excuses everybody from the stage. And then and so that was kind of fucked up and funny. And then like 2 years later, he came and played. It was crazy. It was like the main stage was like Dale Watson and Mo Bandy, and then like we played just a couple sets before them, and like I think the Dead South was there. It was kind of a cool lineup. And then like Dale Watson was asking for a shot of whiskey, and the same thing, like I was just fucking hammered drunk, and I got like to the top of the steps, and it was kind of dark, and I missed the last step and just ate shit in front of like 800 people. Buddy. Like there was like 800 people in this fucking tent, and Dale Watson, and I just like I fucking dropped this whiskey, and I like hosed Chris, his bass player, with this whiskey because I fell right next to Chris, and Dale like everybody just kind of stops. Nobody's sure if they should laugh or what, you know. And Dale just looks at me and he goes, Jesus Christ, Dusty Rust. Because you can hear it like echoing off the walls. And I'm like, oh my God. So now every fucking time I see Dale Watson, I go, hey Dale. And he just looks at me and just starts going. Every fucking time, man. Like I cannot not party around that dude. And it always ends up a shit show. So Yeah. So yeah, I'm an idiot, man. Like I'm my own worst enemy in that regard for sure. Like
You ever hear the story about Johnson fucking getting high on acid at fucking Muddy Roots and not being able to play his set?
no,
Oh fuck. He says he doesn't even remember taking the acid. He was so drunk. He said he just woke up in their van. It was dark. It was hard and pissed because of Muddy Roots. He said, and I've never done acid, but he's like, when you do acid, there's a certain taste in your mouth. And he's like, I woke up and he's like, oh fuck, what happened? And he says, and then I kicked the door open of the van because it's so hot. And he's like, and the first person I see is St. Christopher. And he goes, yeah. Like, I knew I did something fucking real bad.
oh
Yeah, I guess
no.
he couldn't play. I guess like he said, like, I guess everybody was just telling him, like, he was like, they're sitting down in their chairs and they sat down and he was just like, I'm sorry, guys. I'm too fucked up to play right now. And everybody was like, yeah. And then they just sat there in the chair while Fritz played the whole set. And anyways, I guess the promoter, fucking what's his name from Muddy Roots, walked up to him at the next day. And Johnson was all like, man, I'm really sorry about last night. He just felt real terrible about it. He's like, yeah, I heard you had a pretty bad show. And Fritz said, I don't know who the fuck you're talking to. I had a pretty damn good show.
Oh shit. Oh fuck.
Yeah,
Dude.
love that fucking story. Especially the part is the first person I see is St. Chris, and he goes, yeah. He's like, I knew I did something real fucked up.
Yeah, dude. It's definitely like, it's weird. It's like a tuck your tail between your legs kind of moment, but then you're like, well, whatever. Somebody will have a good laugh about it, like,
Yeah.
and shit happens,
Sometimes those are the moments that make your story part of what it is, though,
Oh, sure.
The
Yeah.
ones that you're not so proud of.
Yep. Yeah, no doubt. I'm trying to have less of those these days, but hey, they still happen, It's like, fuck.
Sometimes I think I should have a couple more, like, so I gave it up pretty early, and like sometimes not so much drinking, but like I'm getting like, maybe I should do mushrooms again. Like,
Yeah.
try to open up some doors again,
Yeah. I've only done it a handful of times, and it was a really pleasant experience, but I don't know, man, there's something about like the hallucinogenics I don't like. I think it's just like the lack of control,
For me,
like,
I loved them until I started losing control. That was because I wouldn't take enough, and I got real lucky the first fucking probably 10 times I did them, where it was all fun. And I'm like, I got this handled. I got a tolerance, they don't fuck with me like they fuck with people. And then that day comes where it does. And then once you lose that control, like you said, that's where I got the problem with it. It's like when you can't fucking figure out what's real or fake, that's what scares me and keeps me from doing it, because I'm like, if I do it, I want it to be fun and want it to be relaxing. I want to open up those good doors and not open up the bad ones, because once you want to open that fucking door up, there ain't going, it's just, you're riding that fucking horse till it's done. And then for me, when I would have those experiences personally, they sit with me for weeks sometimes,
Sure.
like it'll change the whole course of my fucking mood for a month if it's bad, but if it's good, it'll do the same thing where I just walk around in a great fucking mood, enlightened, loving the world. But it's just like, what one are you going to get, and I stopped doing it because I was tired of playing that game, And then now with me too, I'm like, with drugs just get more potent with time. And I'm like, my problem is I took too much. So like, I don't want to fucking like, what am I supposed to take? Like one mushroom? Like, how many should I take now? I'm like, I'm old and I'm out of fucking practice. Like, I don't know what to take. I'm not up on the brand. I shouldn't say brands, but whatever, the species of mushrooms and shit,
Yeah. I actually had a doctor one time tell me that, the reason he would not do mushrooms is because it's impossible to dose yourself. Like he said, because like you could take a real small, tiny little cap and just trip balls, or you could take a whole eighth and not, just have a little bit of a buzz. And he says it's hard to tell. It's hard to gauge, just because it's just the potency is different from cap to cap, And I was like, oh, that's interesting.
The one thing that brings me back though is you don't hear about people dying on them unless they're allergic.
No, yeah,
It goes away eventually. So that's the one thing that reels me back whenever I'm like, nobody's died from taking mushrooms. Like, and
yeah,
you're not allergic to them because you fucking have taken them a million times before. Just calm down.
sure,
I
yeah.
have to keep coming back to that place where calm down. You're not gonna die. You're not gonna die.
Hmm.
And that's what keeps me coming back. Uh, but I have a friend, man. He could take them by the handful, and it doesn't even touch it.
Hmm.
Like literally, he's like a fucking immune to them. We stopped giving them to him because we're like, well, around here we only get them like twice a year. Back in high school, you can just go get them anywhere. So like, we stopped giving them to him. Like, you're fucking wasting these fucking things because you don't do anything. You just sit there and be like, God damn it! Like he'd be pissed.
Oh,
It's almost
oh, you going to bed, honey? All right, honey. All right. My wife's going over here. She's like, hey, I'm going to bed. I was like, oh, keep asking her to come over here. She's like, like, what? I'm like, yeah, I'll have to get her on here one of these days. She misses it.
Yeah, man. She was part of the band. I mean, she still
yeah.
isn't she?
Yeah. Well, it depends. Like some days she wants to play bass, other days not. It just depends. Like, my band's always kind of been a collective anyway. It's like, who can show up and do the gig, like, it's always just kind of been, it's just worked out that way, especially like doing the honky tonk jams every Thursday night. It was just like, it was easy, because people would be like, we met all kinds of musicians come up and play. So, if I didn't have a drummer, well, I know another 4 guys in town, I could call up and they can be able to do the gig, or, bass players or guitar players or steel players or, so yeah, it's always kind of been like that, it's a lot better when you have like a consistent group, you stay a lot tighter that way, but, shit happens, it's understandable. I mean, it's like the nature of the beast. So,
Well, yeah, man, and it must be. I don't know. It's probably like a curse and a blessing to be with somebody that you play with. It's probably great because you get to experience making music together, and on top of everything else, it's probably pretty cool. I've never had that experience where I've like been able to make music with somebody I've like made love with and made life with. So
yeah.
that's like having the best of those both, because like to me there's like 2 sides of me. There's that side and then there's the side that is devoted to family and whatever else. So if I was with somebody and I could like collide those lives, it'd be cool, but I also might not like it too. I bet it's got its ups and downs.
Yeah, it's definitely like there's been some times where it's just like, maybe she was getting tired of it or I was getting tired of it. And, like you spend that much time together, it's like, but I think over the years, it's strengthened our relationship for sure. I mean, like definitely like points where I'm sure I'm very difficult to deal with. And Chelsea's always been a way better like manager and business, like minded person than I am, so she's able to handle a lot of, administrative type stuff where sometimes I'm just like lost in the weeds, so we've always been a really good pair working at it, and we always played in like separate bands, and then the one I did one day we're just like, let's just combine them, and then we had a garage rock band together for a while, and then when I went full time, kind of like playing country music and stuff, like she still had her other band for a while, and then she eventually was like, well, like let's just play bass, and when we started doing like Dusty Rust gigs and stuff, I literally sat on a suitcase with a kick drum pedal and played telly, and she played bass, and we actually made probably the most money doing that because we were just a duo, and it made sense, but it kind of sucked in some regards as far as like I didn't get that beautiful sound of the steel guitar like I always wanted and all that kind of stuff, and then just kind of eventually grew into that. But I mean, the start of everything that we started doing, that was as to what we're doing now, is definitely like a lot more humble for sure, and just easy to do it that way.
Yeah.
Especially just the 2 of us, a lot less, just less personalities to deal with and stuff like that, so
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, and it's kind of like that's why I like touring by myself, even though the gigs are never as good. But a lot of times I saved money and I didn't. If I had a shitty show, I didn't have to worry about everybody else. I just had to worry about me, and if I had to fly the sign to get gas or fucking some bullshit, or I didn't eat that fucking day, or that was on me. I didn't have to. At least I didn't have the burden of worrying about somebody else too. So it probably kind of goes similar when you're with somebody that you're with in a relationship as well, and where you guys it's probably like that because there's a lot of lonely, scary times like that when you're by yourself. So it's probably kind of like that, but probably better because you have somebody with you at least, so you're not as lonely or not as bored or
Sure.
whatever.
Yeah.
You got somebody with you,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yep. Yeah, she's definitely made, like, without her, there'd definitely be no Dusty Rust, that's for sure. She's definitely kept the ship afloat more times than not. So
Well, yeah, I've never known you without her, really.
yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it'd be hard to function.
Probably in
Yeah,
all aspects of life, huh?
yeah, sure, absolutely. Yep, yep. No, definitely the best part of the whole unique experience in music. And it's all better for her being part of it too. For sure. Because yeah, I mean, it's yeah, no, she's definitely, like, she was the one that really was like, dude, you need to quit your job, and we need to move to Nashville and just do something completely different. And I was like, really? She's like, yeah. I went, shit. And we went to Nashville for a month, and then we wound up in Kansas City, because Nashville was cool, but when we got there, like, at that time in particular, it was like just like going from Portland, Oregon to Portland, Oregon in Tennessee, and I was like, I don't want to do this. And then, like, the other thing too is, like, I knew a bunch of people down there, and then I realized that they were like old friends of mine and old connections, and I was just like, they kind of moved on with their lives and were getting into other things besides music, and I was like, this is, need to do a different town. I don't think Nashville's the right place for us, and Kansas City worked out a lot better for us too. Just really cool music scene there.
I fucking love Kansas City, man. A lot of people dump on that town, but it's one of my favorites, dude.
Yeah.
In all aspects, and I think it's funny because all cities are fucking dirty, it's
Sure.
not like I mean, personally, I mean, there's a couple that are a little dirtier than other ones. Like, I mean, Detroit's bad, but I've always had great shows in Detroit and great time in Detroit, no matter how shitty it is. Sometimes I feel most at home in shitty places, man. Like, like Cleveland's another one's kind of shitty, but for me, when I'm in a city, I just feel like I'm in a city. I mean, I think Detroit might be the only, and I've never actually, out of all the places I've been, I've never been to New York City. It's probably the only major city I've never been to, I think. And next to Portland, Maine. I haven't been up in that corner of the country either, but I mean, essentially, like, Detroit's the only one that sticks out as being a little different to me personally. Like,
Yeah.
as far as big cities go, like Milwaukee, they all kind of have different vibes, but I don't feel any safer in any of them,
Yeah. Detroit's just, to me, when I noticed when I was there, it just seemed so empty for being such a big, sprawling city. Like, it was just remarkable how many people weren't out there. Like, at that time, it was like, I think it was like kind of still during the recession when I was there, and just driving through on tour and played the Lager House. I think it was PJ's Lager House.
Oh yeah, I played PJ's.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Pretty cool, like, little playing. It was like, this band I was playing with was called the Village Green at the time, and I remember just driving down the street, and it was all these big ass buildings and nothing in them. And I was like, wow, this is insane. And then there's these two guys there that had heard us on the local radio station, like, and it wasn't even a local station. It was they listened online to was it KEXP out of Seattle, and they were,
yeah.
And so they were big fans of that online radio station.
Those guys are huge now too. The KEXP, they have like,
yeah, their reach.
It's
crazy.
They did a bunch of shit with Sturgill before he was super big. I think that got fucking a lot of recognition. But yeah, they're pretty popular now.
Yeah, it's insane. And yeah, so yeah, it was kind of wild. I just remember, like, not being a lot of people there except those two guys. And they're really into what we were doing and super nice. Bought us a couple beers, and then it was like, pretty late at night, and we're driving down there, and I just remember just kind of being almost creeped out by how fucking empty it was. And there's a couple, like, strip clubs that were open, and hardly anybody at them. Like, man, what the hell is wrong with this place? Why is it so desolate? But I mean, who knows? It's probably changed by now, because I mean, I think real estate got cheap enough. People are probably like, well, fuck, we could buy a house for $4,000.
Yeah, when I was on tour with Bob Wayne, like, this lady was like, I bought this house for $6,000. It's like, holy shit. She's like, yeah, there wasn't, like, most of the copper was stripped out of it. She's like, so I had to redo the electrical and the plumbing in it, but She's like, yeah, other than that, it was pretty okay. Like, roof doesn't leak, wasn't stupid trash. $6 fucking grand.
Yeah. Yep. It's insane. And, hopefully your neighbors are cool,
Yeah.
He's cool enough to not rob you or kill you. So
Mhm. Yeah, but yeah, I think that's the only city that is really, I mean, like I said, a lot of them have different vibes, but I don't feel safer. And I didn't even feel all that unsafe in Detroit. It was just real different,
yeah.
I'd play there almost every time I'd go through, though. I love Detroit.
Yeah.
Honestly, the city that's probably the worst right now that I've been to is fucking Seattle, man.
hmm
Jesus fucking Christ. They want to talk about that being like the Emerald City and some great fucking city, but man, it's nasty.
hmm
Yeah, I mean, and Portland too. I mean, Portland's not great either. Both of them
No,
are
it's
fucked right now.
it's a much different place than I was even like 6-7 years ago when we were living here. I mean, it was like I didn't this like last like couple of years, I like every time I drive down the freeway, I'm like, what the hell happened to this place? And
I literally saw a guy projectile shitting out his fucking ass last time I was there, just right off the fucking off ramp.
Oh yeah,
going to downtown, and it was like gray diarrhea just shooting out of his ass. Claire was like, "Oh my god!" And like I look over, I'm like, "Holy fuck!" That's when I realized it's worse than people are saying it is. Like people like dumbasses around here be like, "That place is bullshit," and blah blah. All this shit's happening. I'll be like, "You dumb fuck! It is not. You're just hearing that shit." And I got there, I'm like, "Holy fuck! There are tents everywhere. Like, they are, like people are shitting in the middle of the fucking street. Like this is nuts. Like,
it's insane. Yeah, one of the craziest things I saw, we were on the freeway and my buddy and I were stuck in traffic because traffic is always bad in town. It's like never not traffic anymore. And we're on I-5 North and there was no traffic heading southbound. And I'm not shitting you, dude. Like there's this guy playing Human Frogger. This guy climbs up onto the freeway from this like hill, like from one of the tent city hills. He's wearing a motorcycle helmet and a fucking cape. And there's like 3 semi trucks coming down there. And my buddy and I are like, dude, no, don't do it. And he just runs across the freeway. He stops. He lets a couple semis go through him. He like keeps run. Like it was insane. It was Human Frogger, and he made it across the fucking freeway. But it didn't look like he was gonna make it. But I'm like, I don't know what the whole getup was, but it was fucking hilarious in a fucked up way. I mean, the helmet and the cape. I was like, what? Yeah. Portland's definitely still weird, but kind of in a negative light, though. I think so.
Yeah, man, it escalated quickly too, man, and I think that's just got a lot to like. I think some of it, like when I was in Seattle, it's kind of been building. I guess it didn't escalate quick. It's kind of been building over the last 15 years, probably. At least in Seattle is where I know a little more because that's where I actually lived. I mean, I've been through Portland a lot, but Seattle's where I lived, and I really paid attention to what was going on there, and and they kind of go hand in hand with what they do. But I feel like they painted this picture of like, oh, we embrace homeless people here. This is so great. And like they got all these people that are like, do-gooders that live there. I mean, it tends to kind of be a Pacific Northwest thing. It's kind of like a hippie mentality. All these people are like, oh, that's great. Well, really behind the scenes, I think all these people are painting this picture because it was saving them money. And they weren't taking care of the problem, and they didn't have to do that. And nobody fucking thought about the repercussions of this, and now they're seeing it.
Yeah, they're like, oh shit. Yep.
Yeah, and they've allowed their city council and the people running their city and all the funding and the taxes to piss away their tax money on shit they don't need and lace their own fucking pockets with it instead of taking care of this problem the way it needed to be taken care of, and that's like providing more homeless shelters, providing more fucking outreach programs and drug fucking rehabs and mental health facilities, things that, you need that really take a lot of these people off the street for the long haul. You don't need more cops. You don't need more jails. I mean, you probably do a little bit maybe, but a lot of it is when you're shoving people in jail, it's just adding to the problem. A lot of mental health. I work in mental health, and I just had this talk tonight about how, like, if the mental health system was working the way it should, fucking, we'd have significantly less problems in the world, and there's not enough places. They just send these people to fucking jail, or they let them out on the streets, and it's sad. And
Mhm.
some of these people, it's really affecting the cities in a negative way, and it's taking people getting hurt to open people's eyes, sadly. Like my friends all were at a show at El Corazon in Seattle, and their buddy got fucking hit in the back of the head with something and almost fucking died.
Oh shit.
They got into a fucking verbal thing because they had all those tents set up across from El Corazon off that off ramp. And the city thought it was cute. Oh, we're not going to kick him out. We're not going to make him move. And that guy disappeared, man. They fucking didn't know who the fuck he was. Essentially got away with almost killing somebody. How many people are getting killed? And nobody knows who the fuck it is. Then they actually do find the guy. They take him, they book him, they give him a fucking sleeping bag and send him back out on the fucking way after he almost kills a guy with it. It's like they don't care. They didn't keep that guy in there. He's obviously a threat to society, and they just let him out to be another fucking face.
Yeah, it's a fucking crazy situation. Like, I don't know. I wish I knew how to fix it. I mean, I was like, that's like, well, fuck, like. It's insane. Like I said, like you work in mental health, I'm sure you deal with like a lot of people that are like probably similar, like probably just outside of out of reach of like maybe winding up on the street in Portland or Seattle or something like that.
Well, a lot of them just got pulled off. A lot of them, that's kind of how we get them a lot of times. And well, actually, and it does kind of go both ways. When we get them, either they come to us like out of the state hospital or from another home. And a lot of times they have been on the streets. And then if we get to a point where it's really, really, really bad and we can't do anything, and it takes a lot to get to this point, but essentially we'll just have to evict them and they'll do something like they'll assault somebody or destroy the house, and they'll have to go to jail. And then they'll just keep them for a few days and let them out on the fucking streets. It's repeating the whole process, and they'll be out on the streets causing shit until they get thrown back into the state hospital, and then it repeats the whole fucking cycle all over again.
Yeah.
Just fucking nasty, and it sucks. And there's not enough state hospitals in Oregon, and there's not enough homes in general, and there's not enough steps. Like for me, like I work at a place that we're kind of like a halfway house in a lot of ways. And my cat is going to fucking hold on. Boo! Hey, get out of there. Knock it off. I have this kitten and she's fucking bonkers, dude. She's like super sweet half the time, and then she's a fucking crazy bitch the other half of the time. But she's just in my bookshelf, and I'm like watching my bookshelf like tip over because she's in there. So, but anyways, so essentially, like we got like 12 beds, and we're kind of like teaching them skills to get back out on their own. A lot of the times they either go to like halfway houses or adult foster care, or they go to their own apartments and stuff, and sometimes, unfortunately, they age out, and we have to find them care in like a senior citizen center, which is always fun. Because even though people with dementia are just as bonkers as somebody with schizophrenia, there's like this taboo thing, like, oh, they're got mental illness, we don't want them. I'm like, my grandpa's got dementia, and he's been kicked out of 2 nursing homes for sucking nurses, and we never have a problem with getting him in another one. Like he's more dangerous than like most anybody I've tried to get to placement, and they're just like, it's always a bitch. Nobody wants to take them. So
yeah, they think that everybody's got schizophrenia is like looking to blow a building up or something.
There's some shit, and there's just a big hassle. But they'll send these people fresh out of the fucking state hospital to us. It's like setting people up to fail. So we get these people on our program, and they decide they don't want to take their meds because they don't have to, because that's the level of care it is. We're supposed to give them choices and shit, so it's not mandatory to take your meds. So they'll instantly get there and be like, I don't want my meds, fuck you. And then it's like, they're just walking around throwing shit, doing whatever, and then fucking causing shit, and sometimes doing drugs even, it's like bringing drugs in the facility. It's like, so there just needs to be more levels of fucking care too, where you're like, okay, you're in a state hospital. Sometimes maybe you just need that and it resets your brain and you can tell. It doesn't take a fucking rocket science, just have to talk to somebody. Sometimes, 9 times, like I would say fucking 8 times out of 10. And obviously there's still gonna be problems. It's mental health, there's still gonna be flaws and shit, but you need to state hospital, like another place, then to us, and then I think they need to, if they're not going to make senior citizen like homes take mentally ill people when they turn 65, 70, they should fucking make special homes for them so people want to do that, It's just like you're saying, it's just a fucking mess, man. And there's so many people in jail that shouldn't be in fucking jail. It's not helping anything. It's just costing us money and taking up space and making their matters worse. It doesn't help them get better.
No,
we're not helping people get better. That's what jail's supposed to do. It's supposed to teach somebody a lesson, make them a better person. How many times do you think that fucking works?
Yeah, I don't think it does.
Not very fucking often. Usually, if you're a criminal and you're not mentally ill, you usually come out a better criminal. And
especially if you're just in there for a short time, just long enough.
A drug charge or something. Fuck, you go in there and learn how to be a better criminal.
Here's how to not get caught as fast next time, or whatever, But
yeah, exactly. But,
yeah,
it seems to be. I don't know. Yeah, everybody says. Actually, I was reading something the other day. It said Kansas and Missouri are two of the cheapest places to live. I was like thinking, like, fuck, man, I wouldn't mind to be a Midwestern. Or I've never tried it out. Like, all my family around here's dying off, and I don't have much left here. So,
and I think about that too. Sometimes, like, it might be nice to go back and have a house back there or something. And I don't know. I've looked at it, but it's they definitely, like, kind of like everywhere else in the country. They've gone up in price in the real estate over there for sure. I mean, it's still a lot cheaper than like Portland or any of these areas out here. But
your wages are kind of low too, aren't they?
Yeah, well, like in the service industry, like I think Missouri is like a right to work state, and Kansas. So like if you're working as a restaurant, like a server or a host or something like that, you're only gonna make like $4 an hour plus tips, and so
they make sure they get their taxes out of those tips too.
Yeah, I think it depends. Like that, yeah, it depends. Like I don't know exactly how it works, but yeah, it's kind of messed up. Like. I don't know. Some people I know that make a living as bartenders and stuff do really well, when they like got good regular clientele and their tips are good, like they can kill it on certain nights. But I've also seen it, it's a slow night and you got some shitty people, like, obviously playing our Thursday nights and shit over there. I mean, we'd see some crazy shit. Like we'd have one night, like, fuck, we were in there one night and my drummer, Adam Watson, is playing for me this one time, comes back and I'm talking to the bartender and it's slower than shit. There's like 3 people in there. And the drummer comes back, he's like, dude, this guy's got his fucking dick out at the bar. And I'm like, what? And sure enough, this guy's up there and he's like got sweatpants on. He's like talking to some girl and I don't know what the fuck was going on, but he's shaking it at her and she's like all into it. And we're just like, dude, you gotta get the fuck out of here. You can't be, like, no. And then he gets all pissed off and he wants to fight. And everybody's freaked out, we're like, no, believe me, your dick's right. We're like, no. And so we're like, no.
That's funny.
So he's gone, and then then there was another night we were in there and there's all these dudes come in and it's slower than shit that night too. This was kind of a slower night. And these guys walk in and we're playing and there's like probably 7 or 8 dudes, like just stacked, all got shaved heads and a couple like gorgeous like supermodels. Like we're just like, wow, who the fuck are these guys, and went over and talked to him because one of the gals came up and dropped some cash in our tip jar. And I was talking to this guy for a while. He's like, hey man, like I really like your music, blah blah. We're bullshit. And I was like, sweet. And I didn't think none of it, and the guys that were standing around kind of struck me funny because like they're like real big, real muscular, real mean looking motherfuckers, but they're all extraordinarily polite, like over the top polite. And I'm like, weird. And then they get up and they leave and a few more people have come in and it's getting busier. And I go talk to the bartender and I'm like, yeah, wow, that guy's really nice. He's like, yeah, go check your tip bucket. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, man, like, do you know who that was? I'm like, no. And he's like, It was fucking Dana White from the UFC.
Oh,
And his
shit,
fucking
really?
crew, yeah. Like they fucking came in, they were like hanging out in the Westport town, like, and yeah, he threw like $500 in cash in our tip jar. Just like it was right after he sold like his stocks or shares of the UFC and shit. And
Oh,
um,
fuck, dude, that's rad, man.
yeah, I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, it was insane. And I just went out and talked to him, like, no big deal. I didn't, I didn't, he kind of looked familiar, but it wasn't like, it's not every day, you just like Dana White walks up, is in a bar that you're playing, so yeah, it's fucking crazy. But
That's nuts, man. That's rad.
yeah, so it's like,
I kind of, that's not even where I thought that story was going to go. I thought you were going to tell me they turned out to be like Nazis, dude.
yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
kind of my first initial impression. Like they kind of look like a couple of guys look like skinheads, and then I was like, oh shit, like these guys look like they're gonna, but no, they were like super nice people and really, really awesome. Like
Oh,
easy,
dude, Dana
easy.
White came from nothing, man.
Yeah.
He was fucking poor, dude. Poor. And
Yeah.
he fell on his ass a few times before he became successful. So he understands guys like us, like probably just like dudes trying to follow their dream. And
Mhm.
like, he knows that, most of their family are in her ear going like, get a real job, or whatever, he did that because he loves it, man. He didn't give a fuck and he fought hard. So when he sees
Yeah.
guys like us struggling, I'm sure he's like, that's what I would do too, man. If I had all that fucking money, oh fuck yeah, I'd be dumping money into people's tip jars if I thought they were authentic,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's what I guess he was doing that to everybody he went to. It was $100. Like if he served him a cocktail or something, it was like $100 tip right then and there. It's like, damn, it's like fucking Dana White UFC Santa Claus,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was remarkable. It was like, wow, holy shit, that was crazy. So
It's kind of funny you mentioned that shit about the guy with his dick, though. I was at some bar on that block, and I don't think it was the Westport, but I was in Kansas City, and it was, how on that block there's like Buzzards Beach
Mhm.
and the Westport, and there's something else too on that block. I can't remember.
Yeah, Ernie Biggs used to be there. I think it's gone now, but or it is gone now. It got bought. There's a bar called Johnny Cause, and they're basically buying up every bar in the Westport neighborhood and making it Johnny Cause or some part of the chain, and it's all like kind of bro bars, like it's not a place that's going to be friendly for live music, that's for sure. I mean, the way they've kind of, they're sucking the soul out of that neighborhood.
But I was at that place, and that was the first time I realized what it was like to see somebody that was high on bath salts.
Oh yeah.
Guy literally got fucking arrested in fucking front of me.
Yeah.
Like while I'm playing. It was shitty too, because it was a really slow night. There's probably 10 people in the bar, and he was the only person in front of me. And I could tell he was off, and I felt so uncomfortable. And then pretty soon the cop comes in and just like throws him on the fucking ground right in front of my like I'm just in the, and it's just, I'm solo too, so I'm just trying, this is a guy with a guitar trying to play, and I can hear the cop, what are you doing, sir? I heard you're out here causing trouble. And he's like, I'm not intoxicated, I bought this at a convenience store. And the cop's like, I can obviously see you're intoxicated and you're being irrational. And then the guy, like fucking, the cop throws him on the ground because he's being irrational. He pisses his pants right in front of my it's like this big fucking ordeal, man. It's funny. Yes, Kansas City is one of those towns, usually something happens.
Oh yeah. No, it's kind of it's a crazy town. It's, we had a lot of fun there, but I mean,
what's the name of that little diner that sells the good fucking those hamburgers? Like it's like an old school 50s diner. Actually, I've been to.
Oh, you talk about Katie's?
Yeah, I think so. Elvis used to eat there or some shit, and it's like
yeah. There's like Katie's. Yeah, it's like right out. It's kind of like, yeah, it's kind of in the. It's not really in the Westport. That's yeah, it's just a little bit north of there. It's all kind of
it's not too far from there, but it's in the same.
Yeah, Katie's. That's like really good hamburgers in there.
Yeah, I guess they say like, and I don't know if this is true or not, but they say the grill hasn't been shut off since like the 50s.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, it probably has now. The pandemic probably shut them down, but they used to stay open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, no matter what day it was.
Yeah. Yep.
So they
they finally, I think that while we were there, I think they finally changed. I think they had dropped a couple hours down or something. And I think were closing down 1 day a week, but even then they probably still left the grill on, hoping maybe to get some insurance money out of it or something.
Yeah, that place is cool. Me and Dig, and we'd always go there after a show and hang out. Yeah, they had the good hamburgers there, man.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of things about that town I miss dearly. That's for sure. That's I said, like, if some way it worked out, and I was able to own a place down there, I probably would, just so I had a little place to spend a couple months out of the year. But
Yeah, if it stays one of the cheapest states in America, I might fucking consider it here in a few years.
yeah,
Really, I'm at a point in my life where I'm just kind of tired of being in Oregon and the Northwest too. So I've been pondering once my kids grown up, just completely making a total lifestyle change and life change and heading out and finding something brand new.
hmm yeah. And I started looking at Montana a little bit too. I was like, what's it like out there? But then I saw real estate prices out there and I went, oh,
Yeah.
never mind.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The people from California love it. And that's what happens, and
Yeah.
What keeps me from Montana, as much as I love that fucking state, is the winters, dude.
Oh yeah.
Like, I'm okay with winter, but not for that long. Like, we were driving through there in June, it was still fucking snowing like a couple years back. I'm like, fuck no. Like,
yeah.
June is not snow weather month. Like, June, like, snow's gone. It's not even a thought anymore. Like, like, get the fuck. That's why I couldn't live there. I love it. And I have actually toured through there in the wintertime, and it's actually amazing because people love it. Everybody's in the fucking bar, dude.
Yeah.
And it's so great. If you get a good rig that you can trust to go through Montana in the wintertime and you're a musician, do it, dude.
Yeah.
Like, the road's nice. They know how to fucking function out there. They've got all the equipment they need. You just got to take it easy. Don't book too long hauls and shit. Keep your shows fucking. And that's the good thing about Montana is if you can book it right, get 2-3 hour shows. You can fucking tour a week out there in 2-3 hour fucking drives.
Sure.
So the wintertime's perfect time to fucking tour out there, and you can hit some of Idaho while you're at it, and fucking it turns out great. But I couldn't do it all. I can fucking have snow like 7 months out of the year.
Yeah, it'd be a little tough, Although a couple months out, you wouldn't mind. I like getting snowed in if it's a possibility. But like, I've had this whole last week out here. We have it's been pretty snowy and it's kind of shit snow. It's kind of icy. I mean, just enough where we live on a hill and none of my vans. I could probably get down the hill, but getting back up with 2-wheel drives definitely a no-go. So, but
yeah, that's I don't hate it so much the older I get. I used to hate it when I was younger, but like I said, I don't bother me either. I think I could do like 2 months, but Montana's just too many consecutive.
Yeah, for sure. That's like
and it's like the whole state too, man. It's like the whole state. It's not even like, oh, well, there's parts that aren't like, where like you'll be like, oh, Arizona's so hot. You'll be like, well, if you go to the northern part, it's not so bad. That's not like that in Montana. It's snowy fucking everywhere.
Oh yeah. Yep. For sure.
Then if that volcano goes off, you're fucking dead. Like, I think most of the world is, but you could have probably okay shot at living if you're not in Montana. But like, you can run down to Southern California away from it, and like maybe survive the nuclear holocaust, or not nuclear holocaust, but the nuclear fucking backlash from it, or whatever they call it.
Yeah, fallout or whatever.
Yeah, fallout. That's what I meant to say. Yeah, you might be able to survive that, but I mean, if you're there and it happens, you're fucking dead, like on impact. Like,
no, sure, yeah.
I hope whatever happens, I'm long gone before that thing goes. I don't want to be anywhere near it.
No, yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
People really take that shit for granted too, man. They're like, oh man, they think that fucking everything is just non-ending, Like, this place is fucked someday, It's inevitable. Yeah. Whether a comet hits it, that thing fucking blows up, fucking some, it's
even Mount Rainier, man. Look at that thing.
That's fuck, man. Oh yeah, dude. And then Mount Hood was kind of active a few years ago. I think that whole fucking goddamn Cascade fucking range is fucking active as fuck. And I was watching something when I was a kid. They're like, oh yeah, there's a potential that like if one goes off, it could set them all off. And then if that happens, it'll cause a giant tsunami. And then like, if that happens, the tsunami might fucking make like the whole tectonic plate fucking drop into the ocean. It's like,
yeah, like what? Yeah. Shit.
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be insane. I know they talk about that, the faults and all that. And who was the other day? Somebody's asking me about Bigfoot. Even they're talking about that, like of all the things, like Bigfoot. Like, oh yeah, I don't even like, oh, there we go. There's a wormhole, like,
yeah, that's kind of a good. I mean, yeah, I don't have an opinion either way on Bigfoot. But how do you feel about Bigfoot since you brought it up?
kind of fun. Like the fact that supposedly he lives right out the back door here, So yeah, I don't know.
You ever hear anything weird?
No, no. I always, I grew up hearing about it and stuff. And as a little kid, I thought that was kind of cool. And then there was like some, supposed evidence of it and stuff. And I'm like, oh, well, it's like, I suppose it could happen, but I don't know, man. Like, there's enough people out here nowadays, and people trek through these woods that they're explored enough. You would think that somebody would have seen something, and
Yeah,
supposedly people do, but it's like, how convenient. There's no, evidence, not clear cut evidence, but
yeah,
I don't know. It could happen, I guess.
I know some really dependable people that say they've seen some weird shit that really resembles Bigfoot, like super dependable people, never lied to me about anything else. Honest, great people. And but they never can really pinpoint that they saw a Sasquatch.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm 90% sure that it was a Sasquatch, but they never like can just be like, no, it's definitely a Sasquatch, But that kind of makes me think that, yeah, it's a possibility, because those people I don't think would ever lie to me. And there's like 3 of them. My grandpa's one. Says that one year he swears he saw one going up the hill outside Bridalville, Portland, in the 60s or 70s. He said it was snowing like crazy, and he saw it like going up the hill. And he's like, whatever it was huge, and it was covered in snow. So a lot of people probably didn't see it. He's like, and it was moving up that hill with like great ease and like a lot of snow.
Yeah.
My grandpa was a big drinker back then too, though. But I don't think he would lie to me. He saw something. And then there's a guy named Jim Healy that says he saw something out by Ukiah here in Oregon. But he said it could have been a bear. He's like, I've never seen a bear quite like that. And I've seen a few bears. He's like, not quite like this one. He said it could have been a bear, but he's like, I'm fucking pretty sure it was a Sasquatch.
Yeah.
And Ryan Hoffer out of Idaho Falls. I don't know if did you ever meet Ryan?
I'm not sure if I have or not. Maybe.
Ryan used to host a lot of shows in Idaho Falls. Super cool guy. And he says that he was out camping out by Yellowstone, and he was in one of those. It's not quite a toy hauler, but it's a trailer. It's got essentially, but there was like a bunk that him and his wife were sleeping in, and it's real high up, probably about 8 feet up off the ground where they'd be sleeping. And he said right outside the window next to his head, he hears this, and he said he jumped up and fucking grabbed his sidearm, ran outside with his flashlight, and fucking shined it all around. Couldn't see shit. Jumped back into bed, and then not even like right after he got back in bed, he could hear it coming through the trees. Got right up next to his fucking head again and did it again. He said he hopped out, did the same fucking thing again. He said he did it like 3 or 4 fucking times. He said finally he got out and he hit it, and there was 2 fucking red eyes about 8 feet off the ground looking at him. He said couldn't see anything else but the red eyes. He said he fired shots at it, couldn't find blood, couldn't find shit, couldn't find nothing. He's like, but that's all he saw. He could fucking just see 2 red eyes. And he's super honest, man. Like, that guy I don't think could tell a lie if he wanted to, so I'm sure he saw something.
Oh, sure.
Fuck, maybe it was a cougar,
if it's a dark situation, you're not sure what you're looking at, and what it could be a really malnourished bear, because you get a big ass black bear, grizzly, or whatever. Yet out in Idaho, is it still grizzlies in Idaho? I can't remember, but
yeah, I think so. Yeah, because especially because he was like by Yellowstone, so
yeah,
I think there's a lot of grizzlies out that way.
Yeah, it would make sense to have a real tall ass bear, and if it was like super malnourished, standing up, it could look like anything, Like, I mean, there was something like I was reading a story. It was about a year or so ago. It was actually turned out to be a dead wolf, but they weren't sure what the fuck it was because it had a fucked up, like the face was kind of deformed and it looked really like menacing, like evil, like the way the teeth were shaped, and it had like a really nasty underbite. And so they're saying like, oh, is this a real chupacabra? Like one of the mythical, blood-sucking animal, but it turned out it was just a fucked up wolf. That was,
I saw one like that too, where they had video footage of this animal that was running, and I saw it right away, and everybody's like, oh, it's a chupacabra. I was like, that's just like a fucking coyote with mange, and that's what it turned out to be, was a yodi with mange, and like they're ugly as fucking scary looking, and look like something from fucking hell itself. But yeah,
you're like, what the fuck is this creature? But I don't know. I mean, the whole Bigfoot thing, I don't know. It's hard to say, like, I don't know, like if you do see one though, like, and you don't have your camera, I don't know. I just the lack of evidence and actual like good hard evidence is just like,
there's some
you know,
weird DNA that kind of makes me think maybe, you know, but I'm kind of with you. And the older I get, the more I feel like in the technology that we have with drones and shit.
yeah.
You know, drones, they'll pick something up, but it's the still grainy fucking bullshit that you fucking can't tell if it's fucking Bigfoot or something else, you know. And that's like they even have had like TV shows just devoted to trying to find it, and they can still never. They always find a way to debunk that shit, you know.
Yeah. Yep.
There's only been a couple things where people are like, "Huh, that's pretty solid evidence," you know. And one of them is the very first film ever fucking made, you know. So
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, hell yeah, man.
They
Well,
tried to reenact that too, and the whole landscape has changed. So it's like, can you really reenact it if like floods have came through and changed the whole, you know?
yeah, I don't know, man. It's yeah, that's not like you're saying, like the landscapes change, and who knows what's you know, like with Mount St. Helens erupting too, like how much wildlife did that take out, and how much did it bury, you know, like underneath all that, you know, the what do they call that, overflow or whatever, you know. It's like, you know, what if there was at one time, and ever since 1980 or was it 1980 1982 when that went off, how much of that's, you know, just buried underneath, you know, 100 yards of fucking, you know, runoff or whatever, you know. It's, you know, maybe that was the last one that was there. Like maybe there was one at one time, and you know, now we'll never know.
I heard a theory once that they migrate, and that's why they pop up at certain times of the year, and that's why you can't like find them as, you know, as in many places as. I mean, I guess that's why they're not in like the same place. They don't just stick around because they like migrate back and forth.
Yeah.
But that was one theory that kind of stuck with me. Like maybe because you do kind of like, if you follow it, you know, there's like a guy that was like showing where all these sightings were coming, and it was like they're migrating from pretty much by week to week, going down from Oregon all the way to Arizona, you know. So
yeah,
like that's interesting, you know, but I'm with you though, man. And especially once you get down in Arizona, that area, there ain't a lot of fucking places to hide in a lot of those places.
No, yeah. And they'd have to cross the highway sooner or later, wouldn't they? You know.
Well, yeah, but then that's so people say, "Oh, we did see him on the highway and shit," but it's like there's never anything good enough, you know. And maybe he's a spirit. That's the thing that's I've came to. Like maybe he's like fucking, you know, like supernatural or something. Like that's probably
which would be pretty badass, you know.
If
like,
he exists,
that, like no, and you try to get on video, but it doesn't show up because it's an apparition. You know, it's like holy fuck, you know, that'd be pretty trippy.
That's like, I'm like, if I'm gonna believe anything, that'd probably be the most logical thing to believe at this point, you know. Because on the other end of that, I have friends that are loggers too that have spent months in the deepest, darkest, untouched fucking areas of the forest, and they're like, "There's no fucking way Sasquatch exists," you know, like. They like my buddy Jake Roy was like the head of a logging crew out probably by where you're at around there, and like one of the Sasquatch research teams came in and were like, "Oh, you're fucking up our squatching," and he's like, "Oh, you're fucking up my work and get the fuck out of here with that shit."
Yeah,
like I've been out here. He's like, I spend fucking weeks on end out here. Like, there's not a fucking thing out here. If you want to know where Sasquatch is, like, I would be the person to ask if he was here because I've fucking been out here. Like, he's nowhere, you know. And he's been all up and down Oregon, Washington, California. So, like, and he's like, there's no fucking way. Yeah. He's like, if there was a Sasquatch, I would have heard it, even, you know, something. He's like, I'm not that lucky. Like, I've just been like in places, and people would be like, "Oh, we know he's around." Nothing. And I'm like in the middle of it. Like, we got loggers that are scared, but nothing ever fucking happens. Like ever. So
it's just it definitely makes for a lot of content and footage, that's for sure. I mean, there's economy and industry
I like
based on it,
it's a story at least, though, you know, and a possibility, because we can't really say it doesn't exist either.
No,
you know?
I mean, not with a definitive, you know, yes or no, you know, like, but no, it would be kind of fun maybe to do one of the fucking, you know, tours and things where they take you out and you actually go hunting for one just for shits and giggles,
Yeah.
like what is that experience like, like, well, you gotta be real quiet and you're searching for this giant fucking
hitting
know,
trees
like
with sticks and shit,
yeah, like go out there. Yeah, I mean, it'd be an experience just to see, and then especially if you got somebody that's like diehard and really believes in it and has claimed to witness it or something, and like they're just out there searching for it and passionate about it. Hey, that'd be be an interesting experience, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, shit, man, we've been bullshitting for a while, which is actually kind of how I like to run these things. So we can have plenty to talk about. We could do a bunch of these. You gotta get up early as shit, man. Sorry to keep you up. I didn't realize it was 10:30, man. So
yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, man. Like I said, if you want to do it again, I'd be more than happy to.
That'd be fun. It's been good just catching up too, man, and just talking about random shit. Maybe you want to plug, like, you got a website with merch or anything like that?
Yeah, right now, we got some old merch on there. A couple records left from our last record, Stolen Horse. Go to dustyrust.com. There's just we got some records, some CDs and stuff from our last record. We'll be doing a pre-sale on the new record for vinyl here in a couple months. We're getting that, and manufacturing all that. Just doing a short run. There's only be like probably 200 copies of it or something,
Cool.
So nothing crazy. And then, obviously everything will be on, YouTube or Spotify or Apple Music or anywhere where you ingest your music at. It should be available. So
absolutely.
But yeah.
Do you mind if I play the song on the podcast when you got out?
Yeah, no, go for it, man. That'd be great.
Well, I'll spin it at the end of this one, and then I'll start putting on rotation on Dog Water and Useless and Alone on my other two podcasts too, man.
Mel, that mean a lot to me if you did that, dude. That's awesome.
Well, it's good seeing you, man. Thanks for coming on, and thanks for giving me so much time. I know you got to get up early tomorrow. I should have helped you. I should have fucking got on here a little earlier today.
Oh, it's all good, man. Like I said, it's always a pleasure to bullshit with you, and anytime I get a chance to just sit down and talk music or anything, it's nice.
This is probably the longest we've ever been able to talk, really.
I think so. Yeah.
Because usually we're at a show or something's going on. We're both busy, and we just get maybe an hour at the most to bullshit. So
yeah,
this was fun, man. It was good seeing you, and it's been a long time since we've got to catch up. So I'll be back on soon. Maybe once the album drops and the vinyl comes out and everything's out, and there's more songs out, I'll have you come back on and we can just bullshit more about fucking Sasquatch or Leroy or whatever.
Yeah, I'm totally down, man. Yeah, let's do it.
All right, buddy. I'll see you later.
All right, sounds good, brother. We'll talk at you.
Bye.
Bye.